I love you, Eris. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Oh man, that was on. We recorded that too. Melt my heart. So when did that stop?
What's that?
That for you. When did the cuteness like that?
Random I love yous?
Yeah.
No, they're still there.
Okay. I always thought they'd stop.
Nah. I mean, the hugs,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the random hugs, and that fades away when they learn their personal space and all that.
Yeah.
But, you know, showing them love and stuff, it's there.
I'm just.
Once you rooted in them, being a good person, good-hearted, it's there.
I'm worried that cause, you know, I got into a rub with my dad about 14, 15. He would just piss me off. You know, I guess that's father-son stuff. He was making me go to football camp a lot. And I was cool with going to football camp because football camp could have been fun. It was a lot of work.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was 3 camps a summer. You know, it was a lot. And eventually I started resenting him for other reasons. I realized he was flawed when I was about 12, 13. I mean, do you remember a moment when you realized your parents weren't perfect?
Oh, yeah. Well, there was a segment in life when I bumped heads with my dad. I think it's that, you know, that adolescent to teen, and then you're jumping into puberty.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the wow. You're gonna try the alpha at one point in time in your life.
I remember I had $17, and I was like, "That's my money, right?" And my dad, you know, I mean, we were nickel and diming things together, and he needed money to do something to get a thing apart for a lawnmower or something. I was like, "This is my money," and he's like, "It's my money," and he took it, and I didn't understand, you know.
It was probably how he asked or didn't ask.
Yeah, he was, you know, he was going through a rough patch, you know, and the school teachers don't make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so, he had given me that money for allowance or something, and he was teaching me a hard lesson. He's like, look, sometimes you got to help the family.
Yeah.
You know, and he didn't make that statement until 3 days later when I was still mad at him, but, you know, the initial reaction was like ripping a Band-Aid off me because I had just earned that money doing whatever I had done, you know.
I didn't get allowance growing up like that, but
Yeah.
it's probably how he come about it. And then hindsight,
Yeah.
you know, 3 days later, you get the explanation.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, growing up, my parents said, do as I say, not as I do.
I got that.
You know, that type of thing.
Hippie children, man.
But they didn't include you in the process of thinking of the household.
Mm-hmm.
That's where a lot of us 80s, 90s babies, you know, are different than the newer generation.
I was about to say, because it seems like, I don't know where we are with her yet. She's still too young. But it seems like certain people in between us, I don't know, maybe even your group with your daughter, they're kind of included in the decision making. What was that? There was a skit. Was that a Chris Rock skit or something where he was talking? No, it wasn't. But he was talking about how the kids get to say where they go on vacation. They have a say in where they go.
Well, I don't know if I've seen that one.
I don't know.
But, you know, it's not much as a saying anything. Every so often, it was like family discussion, you know, over dinner or something or other. Hey, you got anything you need to get off your chest? Something like that. Something that I didn't have the privilege to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know how when you received harsh punishment or something or another,
Oh, I know about that.
and then you couldn't voice your grievances with the punishment, just stuff like that. I didn't get a say, so I always made it a point, month, 2 months, 3, or whenever I felt it. Hey, family meeting, what can I do better? Or am I doing this right? Am I doing that wrong? Just stuff like that.
Yeah. Take me back to your childhood, because I didn't really meet you till high school, right? what are your earliest childhood memories? Were they fond? Were they negative? What were they?
Oh, they were fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
You were in Newton or Hickory, right?
we're basically nomads.
Okay.
We just bounced around. So, but, you know, growing up, you didn't know things were tight.
I didn't know that.
It's just one of those things, you didn't know things were tight until you got to a certain age. But
Well, it's interesting you say that because I remember coming across a few of your feeds where you were talking about your daughter in a really positive way about how she was starting to understand like how things are, you know. And I don't think it was about your financial situation, but it was just like she was coming of age to realize the world she lives in. And this was years ago now. I don't even think you'd remember what you said or when, but like you had made this statement at one point. You were like proud of her because she was starting to understand like the way the family economy works. She was starting to understand the way the world is revolving around her a bit, and she became kind of I'm not close to chest but close to center. And she was modest in the way she spent money. She was modest in the way she wasn't constantly like give me, give me. She was giving more than she was,
oh yeah,
you know.
see, because I don't mean to cut you off.
No,
Like, she's the only child on my side. With her mom, she has brothers and brothers.
mm,
But before, let's see, there's like a 4 or 5 year age difference. So for a while, she was an only child between both of us. And, you know, Christmas, birthdays, like Christmas was the main one. Hey, go through your toys. What you don't want,
that was
we'll give
yeah,
them to
that
somebody.
that was kind of what I remember.
Because one year she had a bicycle.
Yeah.
I think she rode it one time.
Okay.
Hey, do you know of anybody at your school that could use a bike? Just stuff like that. You gotta give away something before it's replaced.
I like that.
It's just some. And then as she got older, like during the summertime, we would go to my mom's house, cut the grass, weed eat, spray, and all that. You know, once or twice, maybe. I don't think she done it like on a constant basis. Just get her to do something a couple of times before we went school shopping, because it's not hand me, hand me, hand me because she's an only child. I'm not gonna try to, you know, on purpose raise a spoiled child.
Well, no one would want to.
I mean, but
You think? Are you?
you constantly give, you constantly give and give and give without any direction.
Yeah.
Not direction.
They feel the entitlement.
Yeah,
becomes
entitlement.
paramount in that kid's life. They think that it's owed to them, and so we're in this weird. We're at this fork in the road. We're like, my wife could give or take like having another kid, right? She's like, you know, first one sucked. I mean, it was uncomfortable. I was in labor for 18 hours or something, 14 hours, like a long time.
Yeah.
She had back labor, and unlike most women, she remembers. Right? They talk about women having amnesia to labor. Well, I don't think she does. And I'm like, well, it'd be nice for her to have a brother or sister, a sibling. It'd be nice for us to have another kid in the house. Doubles our chances of success in procreating. I mean, we want to at least have like one kid who's good, right? You know? And I think the first one's well off to a good start. But, I get it. Her body, her choice. If she doesn't want to go there, we're not going to go there. But, I mean, she's dragging her feet, but she does want another kid.
I mean,
But my worry is about Eris, my daughter. It's like, if she's all alone in this, will she become kind of self-absorbed? Do only children get that way? Can they get that way? And then on top of that, like, I like her to have a companion in life. Because my sister and I are tight.
yeah.
Right? And so that's really my worry. It's like, I want her to have someone to call if I kick the bucket at 63 like my dad.
I got you.
And her mom goes early for some awful reason. I want her to have people, And there's no tighter sibling than like a brother or sister. There's no better relationship.
I understand that. So, are you understandable with her trying to, I guess, advance her career?
My wife,
Yeah.
well, she advances it without telling me. I can't help it. She's just like ladder clinging.
That's what I'm talking about. Like,
she's going and going and going.
like,
And I'm
like maybe that child is like,
gonna keep her.
if I can get right here, and then I'll feel more comfortable with the.
So like, well, she's in between a new gig now, and the whole baby making stuff slowed down a bit because the uncertainties of that, and it's at Mission, and like people are protesting up there, and she's like, what in the world? And so, yeah, it's gotten. Whenever my wife is stressed, I mean, it's not about me, you know, and it becomes about her and what she's dealing with. And so I'm trying to like help her to feel comfortable, not just with her own situation, but with my financial situation and how well I'm taking care. Because you know I'm holding down the fort because I work from home. I'm like, look, I got this, girl. You go, come back, we're good.
Yeah.
And at that point, when she feels padded, is when, you know, all of a sudden there's a full moon on a Tuesday night. You know what I mean?
I got you.
And we're like, okay,
Yeah.
but you know, it takes time, and you don't want them to have any distress
Yeah.
because of that, you know, that
No.
fight or flight kicks in.
I mean, that's another thing that you have to look forward to when the daughter gets of age.
All right.
It's just like anyone can tell a man or a young kid when they're sagging to pull their pants up. But when a lady or your daughter is choosing to dress the way she wants to,
What are you trying to say?
that's what I'm trying to say. It's like
Yeah.
it's a out of bounds but in bounds scenario.
I feel like you have a bit more sway as a father, or maybe even as a brother, than you do as like a bystander on the road. Hey, girl. Hey, girl.
It's still my body. I'm grown. I should be able to wear what I want to and how I want to wear it.
I have some friends up here who are they're grown ass women, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, 35, 7, whatever. They're older, and they're putting out those Me Too posts, right? And I'm just like, okay, yeah, but there is something called being classy and having respect for yourself. And as men, we know and we see women the way we see women, you know?
Yeah.
And it's objectifying them all the time. All the time. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a nice guy or not a nice guy. It's easy to objectify because we're just dudes. And, you know, it's hard not to look if it's being shown that way. And if they're going out, you know, I don't know. I like it when my wife dresses up like that, but my wife always kind of like keeps it kind of neat and tidy. She's not, back in the day maybe, you know, she'd be wearing something that I was like awesome, but, you know, we were meeting up to date. And,
Yeah, I got you.
But
It's just like in the realm of social media. You know, you got TikTok, all these women doing these challenges and stuff, and girls constantly seeing it, thinking it's okay. Like,
how has your daughter navigated this? She doesn't. I don't see things online. I don't follow her though. So
she's modest, but it's just like you see things from time to time that I'm just like, okay.
yeah, my worry with my own daughter is that like somebody will get the wrong idea in the moment, you know, because if she's like me, I'm too nice. People get the wrong idea about me a lot, and I'm a guy, so like I can kind of defend it. But like in her case, you know, it's 3-to-1 weight ratio,
Yeah.
strength ratio. If some guy decides he's going to claim ownership over something just because he's like studded out after a football game or something,
I got you. That's understandable.
you know, he just scored 4 touchdowns, you know.
It's not even. It don't even
I
have
know,
to be that guy.
I'm just thinking varsity blues and
Yeah.
stuff, you know, like how all those things go down.
It could be the little shy one that
Sleeper cell.
You know that's heard a conversation from the cool guys.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I heard she.
Not
Yeah.
even she, just, their macho boy talk or something
Mm-hmm.
another. And then something gets embedded in him to wanna do something. But I try not to let my, back of the mind thoughts come out and persuade my daughter.
Mm-hmm. And they're more fears you're projecting, really. In some cases, if they're coming from the back, I'm like, hey, you better watch out, cuz.
Yeah, it's all those things that you see in the news, you see on your phone, you hear about, just those incidents.
Mm-hmm.
Like the lady that was killed for taking an Uber.
Oh, yeah. That happened up here in Nashville. I know at least once. I don't know if you're talking about the same one.
I just heard about the one in South Carolina.
This one happened in Nashville, I don't know, 4 years ago.
See?
These two girls just got in an Uber with some guy. It was an Uber or a taxi or something. And he just straight up murdered them.
See, just,
And
it sucks that, being an adult, you can't travel in a free country. Like, she's got brothers. She can't travel and move around like her brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Which that sucks for women altogether.
Well, I mean, my mom's best friend, she's a female pastor, Methodist minister, and she was just driving from here to Detroit, Michigan-ish area, because that's where they live. They live up in Michigan. And they were at some truck stop, her and her two adopted daughters, and this guy and woman came up and tried to just rob her, asked because she was driving a Yukon, and she beat them up because she's like a black belt in some kind of taekwondo.
Yeah.
But she beat them up.
Thought it was gonna be an easy lick.
And she was like, and after she licked them, she's like, "Why did you come after me?" And they were like, "We thought you were rich," and then they scattered, right? They literally said that to her right before they ran away, And it's just like, I mean, you can get a Yukon for $8,500 these days. Like if you're looking, it's not like.
Yeah, but I don't. Maybe modesty is the key, or I don't know. They probably just said that just to say that.
Mm-hmm. Maybe so.
3 women traveling by themselves, no man around.
Mm-hmm.
It's always gonna be an easy lick.
Mm-hmm. That's so weird, man. It's so creepy if you think about it. Because I mean, it's not even in our frame of reference. When I'm hitting the road, I don't think, well, somebody's going to try to rob me at this gas station. I don't think about it. I mean, it's kind of there, but it's not like the equation of rape's not in there. I might get robbed and someone might beat me up, but they're not going to like take me by the back of the head. And,
You don't know organ harvesting, but the thing that gets me,
that's some QAnon shit.
the thing that gets me is like when I'm traveling somewhere, if a car makes one too many turns, the same turns I make,
that's weird.
That's when my spidey senses start kicking in and stuff.
I've had that happen. I've had that happen where I'm on the reverse, where we're just driving in and there's an Airbnb right here, and someone from Florida gives us lip on the way into town, and then they're going to the Airbnb right beside my house, but I'm driving behind them because I'm going home.
Shit.
And so we get to the church and we turn in, and that's a dead end. It's a dead end.
Okay, is it?
Yeah, right there where you came up to hit the gravel patch.
Yeah.
Like there's no way out. And I'm just going home, man. I don't care if you gave me the bird back in town. Just get out of my way. So.
That's like the, what was that, Glass House, the movie? The Last House on the Right or some shit?
Oh, yeah. I think I didn't see it, but I remember the
weird
premise.
stuff. Oh, my goodness. But, yeah. It's just, you teach them well, you give them room to mess up, and then always leave communications open. She'll be fine.
Yeah. You mean as a father, leave communications open?
Yeah.
Well, I can't imagine ever saying, "Don't talk to me" to my daughter. And I know that's happened to people, but
It's not. You don't even have to vocalize that. It's just like, not wanting to say anything bad. So you just
don't say anything.
yeah.
But that can cause a mute between the two of you, right?
Yeah.
And it can go on for weeks. I mean, I know my sister and I have had, political debates over the phone, and then she'll say something just awful, or I'll say something awful, but usually it's to me, and I just won't want to talk. I just be like, all right, I don't have anything to say. It's gonna make that better.
Yeah.
And so like we'll go 2 weeks and not talk, and then I'm like missing my sister, right? Because she's my sister.
Yeah.
Same thing with your daughter,
But you shouldn't wait the 2 weeks.
Well, I mean, you live your life. They live in a different town. It's not like you mean to, but time flies, man.
Yeah. I mean, it still takes 30 seconds to send a text.
Mm-hmm. And we're good about,
I'm just saying, like, when you have a rift like that.
Yeah.
I mean, because you let it go too long.
Mm-hmm. And
they're thinking one way, you're thinking another way.
Well, what was that quote? It's a Jordan Peterson quote. He's like, postponed conflict is multiplied. So if you postpone conflict, like if you avoid that conflict, when you come back to it, it's just worse. Or it could be. So maybe that's true.
Never heard that before.
Yeah, it's new. He just said it recently. I was like, that's interesting. But yeah, so like, let's get into like what inspired you when you were young. I mean, like you were a really good ball player. Was that really where your focus was? Like when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you were going to grow up? Did you think
a coach of some sort?
You wanted to coach?
Yeah. It wasn't, I'm going to be an athlete, I'm going to make it to the leagues or any of that stuff. I knew I had a ceiling, and it wasn't the NFL, NBA, and all that stuff.
You could have played D1, but it would have been big pond, You could have played D1. I think D2 you could have shown out, though.
I mean, I could have played both of them.
You could have played at, like, Davidson easily, like a private school.
I could have played at both of them. It's just, I got to a certain point where I knew it wasn't for me. Like, running through a brick wall all the time, that just, you got to love it.
Or you got to be the guy who punishes all the time.
You got to love it. To work out when you don't want to.
Well, I remember seeing my freshman year, Lamont went straight to varsity.
Yeah.
I remember one of the outside linebackers lit Lamont up first day of practice. And he was like, "Oh my God!"
Yeah.
It was the first time Lamont had ever been hit, really, ever.
He's always been bigger, stronger, faster than the people he.
I think it was Corey Loman or somebody just got up under him and hit him. He still didn't go to the ground. He still stayed on his feet.
Yeah.
But he got hit, and you heard it across the field. I was across the field. I was over there with the JV squad, and we all heard it, And I just, it's funny when you run into those guys who are always dealing out the punishment. Where do they meet that mark? Usually it's in D1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you got people that before me, like, the Ant Eichert from Maiden, fizzled out. He's an area legend. You got Chris Ramshor from Maiden, another legend that just. And
how far did he go?
He went to Tennessee. I think he lasted a year or two.
Okay. What do you think causes him to fade out? What do you think it is?
I have no idea.
I mean, is it the school? I mean,
I have no clue. And I just called out them for their athleticism.
Yeah, it's not disrespecting them at all.
Mine's just 2 notches below that, so I knew where I stood. It's just one of those things. It's just I like the mindset and the ability to get a kid to see something that they don't see. Like the same coaches that done for me, I want to do for them.
Yeah. Is your daughter playing sports?
She basically gave everything up after middle school.
Oh, well, we had that talk last time. So he was in here before and his mic dropped, and we're re-interviewing him. But I always thought that she was gonna be like a volleyball player. She's got the height. She's got the size. Like, she
Yeah.
seems like she'd be pretty good off the serve. She looks like a volleyball player.
Yeah, she does, but her heart wasn't in it.
Is she an artist? What do you think it is? Because my heart wasn't in it.
No, it's like when things come easy to her. I mean, from t-ball up until middle school, I'd say about the 8th grade, she was excelling, and then everybody caught up. And then not having the work ethic to meet them and then excel some more, it was just like,
Well, I mean, we have a member of my family on my wife's side out in Kansas. She's got the look, and she's really got the heart to play volleyball. But she's like 5'10", ready for the catwalk in Milan. Like, she's drop dead gorgeous.
yeah,
And there's a debate in the house, especially when we show up, because I'm like, hey man, like, she get picked up by an agency like this, like she's got it, and she could do it. And her mom's like, well, she's gonna finish volleyball first, and like, they don't. By the time you're 22, they're not calling you for the catwalk.
yeah,
They want you 16, 17. And after that, I mean,
if you get picked up by Victoria's Secret,
you
or
better have
some,
acting chops.
yeah,
And she's in the heart of Kansas, and so what I mean, like, that's not really where you want to be if you're in that way. You want to be somewhere like New Jersey, where you can get into Manhattan, or you want to be like in Central California, where you can drop down to LA so you can go talk to an agency. There's not an agency really in Kansas.
yeah,
Until you get to Kansas City. Those are more like sports agencies. They're not, they're looking for athletes a lot of times, not so much, like talent like that. And so I see where her potential would be, but then I see where the reality of her life is. And she went to community college and she played volleyball all the way through, and she had so much fun, and so, like, who am I to say, hey, she needs to be out doing this? It's like, no, she needs to be right where she is, but she really wants to do the modeling thing and the acting thing. She's always out. She's a real go-getter. She's working with photographers now. She's finished up her last season, but I mean, she's got knee injuries now, and she's got all the things that you get when you play sports into college. And so it's like, how do you get them, how do you help that girl get over that hump to get where she really wants to go with her ambition? Yeah, honestly, I don't know. Even though I work in the industry, I don't know how to help them.
I mean, she's got to, if that's what she wants, she's got to push her own agenda. I mean, you got all these platforms and stuff to where
she's using,
technically you don't need an agent.
I mean,
to a certain degree.
But how do you monetize it? Like, I just, she might have 645,000 followers. I'm making that number up.
Yeah.
But like, even if she's just got 30,000 followers, which is more likely and more modest, but like, you got 30,000 followers on Instagram, and then you're gonna have 59,000 followers on TikTok, because it's just everybody seems to like you on TikTok. I don't know what that's about. But then after that, like, what do you do with that? Like, how do you get the money for your followers? And I'm seeing on Instagram, the people who are getting like the Tide sponsorship, or like the Apple to sponsor them, they don't have 30,000 followers, man. They've got 1 million.
Yeah.
Good luck getting to 1 million. You better really know how to dance. Like, I mean, it's not as easy as it. I mean, it's one thing to collect some followers, and that'll boost your ego and get you kind of feeling good about yourself. But I don't know how you monetize those people and those numbers.
I'm not sure exactly how they do it either, but if somebody wants to make somebody famous, it would be done.
I know. Well, I mean, you see that, and that's that agency. It's like some A-list agent is like walking through Brooklyn one day, and he runs across Jennifer Lawrence, and she has that infectious laugh,
Yeah.
and he's like, she's gonna be something one day.
See, but
You know, like-
we're in today's time with social media and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that girl walking through the park, she wasn't shooting her shot. These girls, these ladies, these men, and so on and so forth, they have the ability to contact these places directly. Bombard them with emails.
Mm. Well, I mean, that's got to be happening a lot, though. And I just wonder, how do you separate yourself from the rest? You know, how do you become the wheat? How do you know, like,
I don't know.
I mean, rise to the top type of stuff in such a saturated market. And I'm just so, like, blown away by how many people exist today. There are so many people.
That want to be famous, want to be seen and stuff with this entourage of social media.
I don't know if you've hopped on TikTok ever, but I was on there for like 3 days. They deleted one of my posts because it broke their community standards. And then I was like, what is this? And it was just an infection. It was like in my face. It was wiping my battery out. Like, so my battery will last. My battery will last 10 hours. It's a Samsung. They don't last that long.
Yeah.
But when I had TikTok on my phone, my battery would last like 4 hours. And I wasn't using TikTok. Like,
So did you go in manually and turn off your mic, location, and all that stuff?
I turned off all my notifications. I don't know about my mic and my location. I don't know. But because I use my Garmin to ride my bikes, you see sometimes I do my maps. So I don't like to turn my location off because I like that. But man, it was eating my battery up. And I was like, I can't do this. And I don't want this on my phone. I deleted it off my phone, back up to 10 hours again.
I don't do TikTok. Hell, Facebook is starting to be bothersome because this year alone, I've been thrown in jail 3 times.
You're not even bad. You're not even. What are you?
Trigger words.
Are you saying something in the comments that
Yeah,
I don't read?
It's just trigger words.
Are you in other groups and that I can't see? And then you say some shit to somebody and they're like, "Oh, you can't say that."
No, it's just like
What trigger words have gotten you thrown in jail?
Sluts got me thrown in jail.
All right. I mean, that's not that bad, but I get it.
But you can scroll through day in and day out, hear it on videos, the N word, it's said with no problem.
Well, within the black community for sure. Like
It's through.
I don't hear white people saying it and getting anywhere. Like that'd be hate speech for sure.
But like when they do news articles, like the guy from Amazon that was just fired. You seen that one?
Bezos or no.
No, it was a local guy in Cornelius.
What happened?
He had a package delivered. Guy walked on this grass or something or other. Said he was talking to his friend. Said his friend's name was Nader or something or another, and he was saying the N word. But
he was really saying it.
They let that play instead of doing the little censorship stuff. But it's just they deem slut as hate speech. But you can say bitch all day long.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
they're in the same category.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But when you try to Google search the trigger words for Facebook or anything, there's nothing to be found.
Can you DuckDuckGo that though? Can you look on a different app like DuckDuckGo and find it?
I haven't tried.
Okay. Hey Charmaine, if you get on your phone and do you have DuckDuckGo? No. Do you have Quant? No. You just have. Never mind. Don't worry about it then. Don't worry about it. But well, okay. Let's talk about Facebook groups for a minute. I'm an interesting character online.
Okay.
I have been invited to several black filmmaker groups online. I was invited in. I'm like, all right, well, cool. Because I love black film. All right, like,
yeah.
And some of all Jamie Foxx movies. Come on, they're funny. Yeah. Like,
black cinemas from the '90s was awesome.
Yeah. I'm not big on Tyler Perry, but it has its place.
It's all cupcakes and fluff.
It's wholesome for certain people.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm in these black filmmaker groups online, and someone's making a statement about Mel Gibson on there, and I make a statement, but I wasn't controversial in anything I said, but my presence was controversial because I'm white.
They call you the C word?
Cracker?
No.
Honky?
No, honky doesn't start with the C. Like
See,
the cave people. That's a code word.
cave people, no.
No, it's like caves. That's something from back when people used to. It's like something that they use to be derogatory.
Towards whites.
Yeah.
Well, I never got that. But I did get some attitude, and they're like, hey, why are you in here?
Yeah.
And I was like, because I like black film. Because I love black film. And then, the comments kept going on, and they're like, hey man, go make your own group. And I was like, I think if I made because this is a black filmmaker group for black directors. And I was like, I'm pretty sure if I go and make a film group for only white directors, it'll be deemed racist. Like, just a little bit. Because, it's kind of weird when white people collect together. It's weird. I think it's weird. It's a little weird. Okay? I mean, and we don't need to. Okay? I don't think. We don't need to go running around yelling white pride and stuff. It's just not necessary. Okay? Especially in today's age. And so, part of me is like, maybe I should just get out of this group. But the posts in that group are great. I love the posts. Yeah. And so I stay, and I just kind of, I guess, troll.
So what, they don't want you to comment or something?
Apparently my voice has no authority in that group. And that's okay. But they're posting about Mel Gibson, who's a white guy. And so I'm like, well, we cross boundaries. It's okay. So I say what I want to say, but I try to be as respectful as I can. But a lot of people in there are really angry. There's just some angry people out there.
I mean...
resentful types. So, what do you do?
I don't know about everybody and their need for, what they call it, safe space, so they can be themselves.
I mean, I like to have I'm in here with two black people. I obviously don't want to live in a bubble, right? I really enjoy having my ideas challenged because I grow that way and I become better. And so I find myself, kind of, living on that edge. I don't like it all the time because when you get too much of that in at you, too much of that feedback, you can start to feel like shit.
I get
you. But I like to push my boundaries out when I'm comfortable enough to just see if I can glean something new about a community or understand something a little bit better about the world I live in. And I can't do that, locking myself up into a white neighborhood and never seeing anything but white people all the time. I can't, I really have a love for the Indian people too, and I want to know more about, the Asian cultures, because I fear a lot of things coming out of Asian cultures right now, but I want to know if my fears are rational. And it's hard to know unless you go live in China for a year, and I don't have that kind of time. And so I try to talk to as many people as I can, depending on where I am. So.
And then on the flip side of that, when we're in our little spaces like that, the black biker groups, the black cinema groups, and all that stuff, if we're in just one community group and, we get on a thread and we talk the way we want to talk or have a viewpoint of a certain thing, how fast, just like something small, or if you don't see what we're seeing in the same way, the first thing people are going to say, that's racist. That's racist.
It's really quick to call that out lately.
That's racist. So that's the reason why a lot of groups are trying to shift back to that. Well, they're shifting back to that, safe, they call them spaces,
Mm-hmm.
just so you can say what you feel without any repercussions.
Well, and I like the idea of a safe space in that regard, as in like I don't want to be censoring my speech because I don't feel like I can really say what I want or need to say, and I'd rather go too far than have Charmaine say, "Hey, man, that kind of sounds racist." I'll go, "Hey, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it that way," but then we have that back and forth.
Yeah.
I'd rather go too far than be afraid to say anything, and then there's no conversation. It's just a boring, placid state that we're in. And well, I mean, who wants to watch that on camera? You know,
It's not watching it on camera. The main thing, the main issue with those groups and stuff is it's words on screens. You don't have no tone, you don't have no dialect behind it. You don't have the feel of the voice when somebody said something.
because they could say something lovingly to you, but if they say it in text, it just sounds
Yeah.
because you're reading it the way you want to hear it.
Yeah. Or if, the person said something negative 4 or 5 posts up, and then, somebody may have said something to correct his viewpoint, you can't see that on the paper because he's typing.
Yeah. I wasn't going to get to this till later, but I want to talk about it. There's certain characters out there online right now that they're pandering to white audiences in a way that I find comical. Candace Owens is a really great example of that.
The wannabe governor for California?
Is that Candace?
No.
Leon or whatever his name is, right? If we have the time, I want to pull this up and I want Charmaine to show this video. And what I want to show, it's not about the context of what she's saying. It's about the format of her new show. So she's sitting there in front of a live studio audience like Bill Maher, and she's reading her tweets, and then she's reading the comments in her tweets, and I'm like, that's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen. Like, why would you want to, like one, I don't care about anyone's tweets. I don't want to read your tweet. I don't want to read the comments in your tweet. Like, I don't even have Twitter.
I don't either.
Right, come on. But it's all like, it's clickbaity, and they're at each other's throats, and she's fighting against a transvestite about the ideas of gender, whatever. And it cuts to the live studio audience, and they're all applauding her, and every one of them are white. Every one of them in there are white. And I'm like, there's not a black person in that audience.
That's her audience.
I know, but like, why isn't black culture backing her? What is it?
There's a few that think and assimilate like them, but for the most part, you see how she operates and stuff. It's all for money. It's all for that push to where she wants to be.
She lost me. She's been doing these videos for PragerU, which is this new right-wing thing that's going down. But it's like fighting back against the woke university system. And so it's like a new education system to help people not be woke. But in a way, it's kind of like helping people be woke only conservatively. It's hard to pay attention. It's hard to figure out what they're doing. But she's got these videos coming out through PragerU, and that was one of them. But then there was another one where she was like, it was about abortion, and she's all pro-life, hardcore pro-life. And she was starting to talk about like how, we need to make it mandatory that no one can have an abortion. And I'm like, oh, that sounds equally as hardcore as everyone should get vaccinated. It's like,
Yeah.
maybe we should find a middle ground and stop trying to tell people at all what to do. Like, make safe spaces. Make safe spaces for women who really feel like they got to go do that. Make a safe space for someone who doesn't want to get vaccinated.
I mean,
Even if it's their choice to die an early death because they get sick. If it's their choice, everyone who's vaccinated is vaccinated. right?
Yeah.
So what's the problem?
I try to stay clear from even looking at her videos and stuff. It puts me in a bad space.
It spins spirals.
It's just
It creates a like a cyclone of frustration and anxiety.
because you got people like right when the insurrection and stuff was happening and stuff, she was making headlines and stuff, and it's just like I would vote for her for president. And there was some that was 2024.
She's too young still. She's
I'm
not
just-
even. She's younger than we are.
It's just like, ugh. It's like it's like eating something that just ruins your day.
Odds in there.
And then with abortion, vaccines, abortion's been around since we've been around, since human life started. Religion has been around not as long, but how you gonna pick and choose what you want to make laws for and then disregard somebody's rights?
Like, I feel like we're the only people really talking about it in the world sometime. Like, I feel like Americans are the only ones really having the combative conversations that might help democracy live.
It's
But-
like a sticking point. That's one of the sticking points that'll get somebody an extra vote if they're against abortions.
I would just like to run on a platform, if I were to run, without having to talk about this and this and this, but my platform would be all about education, right? I'd be like, look, teachers need to be paid 3 times as much. Our students need more resources. Our roads need to be better. Or this and that. And I'd be talking about all those things that matter, but then, they're going to come in, well, what do you think about abortion? Well, what do you think about vaccinations?
Yeah.
And if you don't answer, they're just going to put words in your mouth. They're going to go find a podcast from 2021,
Yeah.
and they're going to go, well, you know what he said about.
Oh, they're gonna dig until they find something that and be like, got him.
Yeah. Remember that one time you said that thing? That was really insensitive? I was like, which one?
Exactly. It's just, oh man. Okay. Remember how crazy, what was it, 2020 politics was?
We're in this weird trough of no politics, sorta. Go ahead.
Yeah, because the vaccination talk and stuff. Okay. The Hillary, Bernie, you got the Trump and all that. Okay. Now how far left and right they wanted to go with all this stuff. Okay. Now fast forward to today. And you got Joe Biden issuing these crazy demands on the U.S. citizens. Just imagine when 2023 rolls around. The campaign trail gets hot and revving again. Just imagine how far the opposite direction it's going to go.
I mean, the wave's going to be red.
It's going to be freaking huge.
But my worry is that it's going to be violent too. It's not just going. We're not just going to go vote. There's going to be some BS that goes on in the streets again, just like it did in Wisconsin, just like it did in,
Michigan.
Yeah.
All these gun-toting happy Americans.
And I feel like Asheville's one of those hot melting pot areas where something bad could happen too. Like, just because all the liberals here, but then also like they are surrounded by rednecks with guns. Surrounded. Asheville might seem like this utopian place for gays and all
wealth and
all the liberal ideals, but like you drive into Canton or you ride up north to Jupiter Road and see what's going on in that trailer park. You know what I mean? It's like
this is where they can hide and stuff. This is where they can be. But just okay, right here where we are right now with the politics, everybody's just so distraught with the Trump loss. Just imagine what kind of Republican Party that's going to be in place in 2024.
I'm super frustrated with that because I want new blood in there. I don't want to see a Trump Biden rematch. Okay, like
Biden's not going to make it to the DNC.
You don't think?
No. Not with this push with his mandatory vaccines and all that stuff. Absolutely not.
Kamala's going to take over?
I mean, she's hand and foot with him, so it's really not much of a...
Is she? I don't know. I just don't feel like we know who Kamala is. I'm pausing to say her name right because my sister told me it wasn't Kamala, and so I'm trying to be good about pronouncing her name right because I don't want to mispronounce a black woman's name, right? I just don't. And but I'm over here like, she's like a chameleon to me. Is she Native American? She acts white. Is she black? She's married to a white guy. She's like, to me, she's Candace Owens, in a way. You know?
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know what she is. And she's like, this is a football metaphor. I think only you'll understand. It's like, there's been a fake, and you don't know who's got the ball. And fullback's in front, and then they split.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, there she goes.
I got you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in 2024, whenever she gets the ball, she's going to run in whatever direction her agenda chooses to run in. Is she controlled by Nancy Pelosi? I don't know. Or is she just pretending to be controlled by them right now? She could be everything we want in a president, but I wouldn't know.
I see the whole party just being wiped out.
The Democratic Party.
Yes.
Like, just straight up from the midterm election, and then we'll have 2 years of this weird divide.
Oh yeah, we got midterms coming up here pretty soon, don't we?
Yeah, you're optimistic.
I'm just saying, you know, that'd be the
Do you remember to vote in the midterms?
That'd be the preview.
I always forget to vote in the midterms. I just like, wow.
That'd be the preview of what's to come.
I mean,
I don't see no faith in it. I don't see, you know, both sides trying to, you know, for the greater good, trying to come to balance. Because even the politics are out of hand with the crazy bills and stuff that's been passed, gerrymandering, pushback of voting rights and all that stuff.
Well, I was always against the conservative Republicans for the gerrymandering they did in North Carolina. I was like, man, that's just jacked up how they go from Gastonia to Shelby over and up underneath, and then they encircle Buncombe County somehow. And so then we have to vote red because all those people down in Tryon and in Shelby, you know what they do.
Yeah.
You know? And so I was like, that's not right. That's not right. But then here I am I'm leaning conservative, at least right now. And I'm so torn because I just don't know what to think.
There's nobody to push me out of the independent stratosphere right now.
Same. And I find myself being forced into the libertarian bucket. Even though I'm like, all right, I'm libertarian. But like, Charmaine was speaking last night, poignantly, you know, she's just a voter, man. She's going to vote the way she votes. And I respect that. You know, it's not about, you know, putting yourself in this box or that box or now this green box or this purple box or whatever they're making up names for. Everyone likes to label things, don't they? Why can't we just all be Americans and vote one or the other?
But my biggest vote is always local. I always try to dig in and do
you're the anomaly.
But
most people only know the surface. They only know to vote for the president and then for maybe governor. And even then, they're not educated on it.
Yeah, and take our governor. Just imagine how fast he's gonna be out of here.
You think? Well, I thought he was gonna be out last time. I mean, who's gonna replace him? It's not going to be McCrory again. He's out.
Isn't he still trying to get into
I don't
the
know.
big politics? And one time he was trying to run for president.
Not going to happen. Sorry, Pat.
I mean, he's got that Duke Energy money behind him.
I just, in a recent podcast, we pulled up one of those 5-star generals, and I'm just like, when you're at that age, why do you want that?
It's just a flex. It's a pat on the back.
To me, like, men our age are of proper age to begin really climbing that political ladder if we wanted to. You're 40,
Yeah.
45, 50, but once you hit 65 and you're getting your AARP card, go home to your family. Live your life. Enjoy your vacation.
That's all the freebies and stuff they can tack on to their comfortable retirement. Hey, here's 500,000. I need your vote for such and such.
Joe Biden could have retired in the year 2000 from his political career, and he could have lived a very comfortable life all the way to the end.
As he's living now, he's worth what? 7 million?
37 million.
No, 11 million? Something crazy?
Much more than I would even. I don't know.
But he's been in politics for how long?
40 years, something like that. And so I guess when you don't know anything different, you just keep going.
And then all the speaking engagements, so on and so forth, free health care, and I mean, I just know 2024, 2024, it's going to be chaotic, and it's going to be worse than it was when Trump was in office.
I know. And there's a veil of uncertainty around what's going to come out of the Republican Party, and it could be great or it could be not great. My guess is we're going to see more not great. And a lot of comedians make these statements, and I have to agree. It's like, how are these the best of the best for us? Like, there's so many bright and vibrant personalities in our culture today, and they don't pursue that rank. I mean, there's all that hype around Oprah and The Rock running for office. There's all that hype around Rogan. There's all that hype around all these other people. Those guys are like, nah.
See, because they got... Okay. If Rock was to come out and throw his hat in the race, he was guaranteed, I say 80% of the Republican vote off gate.
But he's a Democrat, right?
He's Republican.
Is he?
But before...
Dwayne Johnson, right?
Yes. Before, the election, he went behind... He put a vote out for Biden on his Instagram page.
I saw it. And I was like, really? I don't know.
And then, did you read? You didn't even have to go far.
I didn't.
Like, just like a snippet of some of the comments.
They were bad?
Oh, yeah. Just straight turned off like that.
Yeah. Well, I didn't unfollow him. I'm not like that.
I don't follow him to begin with. It's just, when you see stuff like that, it's just like, okay, you liked him up until he decided that he was going to vote for Biden, somebody that you didn't like. Your choice.
Well, see, but I knew before he put his endorsement in for Biden, he had done this speech towards Donald Trump where he was like, "Where are you?" And this was 3 weeks, maybe a month before he endorsed Joe Biden. And Trump was absent on certain topics.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I just kind of took that with a grain of salt. But then he endorses Biden, but then Barack Obama endorses Biden, obviously. And so everyone likes Barack. I don't unless you're a baby boomer.
Yeah.
Like my mom or my past dad, they have things to say about Barack, but really those things that they say about Barack are really just echoes of what they said about the Clinton administration in a lot of ways. They're just echoes of Bill Clinton. And so, their arguments sound the same.
Yeah, I got you. I just think, well, depending on how many more special announcements with this COVID stuff, can I say that word without getting flagged?
Oh no, we'll be demonetized, but we don't make any money anyways,
Oh.
so it doesn't matter.
So with the vaccination requirements and stuff,
Yeah.
I think shit's gonna get real shady here by the end of the year.
Mhm. I mean, I got hit. I got hit. I got vaccinated. My wife and I had a long conversation over the course of 3 months, and I decided to get it. I wasn't happy about it. I felt violated and forced to comply, but I got it. And after the fact, I kind of feel like it's a mood issue. Like it's just been politicized like everything else, and it's a choice you have to make.
Yeah.
You know, it put my wife at ease. Remember we were talking earlier,
Yeah.
keeping her at ease?
Yeah.
And she said to me when I was still kind of throwing those anti-vax sentiments, she was like, hey, you know, I don't want you to get the Delta variant and die with me pregnant. Right? And I'm like, well, these are valid statements. I understand that fear. You know, and I did a lot more research on it, and I did listen to my sister. I did listen to my own mother, who is a conservative Republican,
Yeah.
who got vaccinated. And it was actually my mom. I was down in Hickory in Mountain View swimming one afternoon in July. Well, no, it was August. It was August 12th. And she's like, Josh, I booked you a vaccine appointment at Walgreens right there on the corner in Mountain View. And I was like, you did? Oh God, Mom. And she's like, I think you need to go. And had anyone else said that to me, I would have argued, but it's my mom, and she watched my dad die because he neglected health care. You know, and she made that statement. She's like, look, I watched your dad not go to the doctor when he was having chest pains. Just do this. I had mine. I feel like it's okay. I think it's been over politicized, and I think this is going to come down to a decision that we need to make as a family, and we all want you to go get vaccinated. Pull my heartstrings enough. I'm
Yeah,
going
I
to go. Got the first shot. I felt really sick for 4 days. I was acting like a baby. I was also like butt hurt because, you know, my pride was hurt.
Pretty much you're ganged up on.
I was ganged up on, and I was wrong, or I was made to feel wrong. And then I got my second shot 3 weeks later, which was literally last week. And oh man, for 36 hours. So I got the shot, and my wife says there's nothing to this, but I got the shot in the morning. I was high. Like, I felt like I had taken an Adderall or something. Because I was like, man, I felt great. I want to go do things. And I went out and I got, I rode 30 miles on my bike. And I got a bunch of work done too. And then I went to bed. And when I woke up at 3 a.m., I was sick. And I was sick from 3 a.m. until the following 3 a.m. And it was like that Wile E. Coyote 2-ton thing, the 2-ton anvil, was stuck on my chest for the whole day. And I couldn't move. I just laid there. I slept probably 12 hours. But the next day I woke up and I was good. I needed another day to recover, but I was good. And I've been fine since. So, I mean, it seems okay. I just don't like all the boosters that keep telling us we're going to need later. And
but it's free.
Charmaine, what did you think about Ty yesterday when he started saying it was gene therapy? It's not a vaccine, it's gene therapy. I don't know. What do you think?
No comment.
No comment? Okay. She gets quiet. Sometimes she'll come out of her shell. And when she does, it's glorious. Not yet.
I'm just...
I don't want to pry.
Now, are you under the impression that it should be mandatory? Or are you still with free will?
Are you asking her?
Yeah.
Charmaine, do you feel vaccines should be mandatory or free will?
No comment.
Okay. She's over
Oh,
here trying to
she's-
keep her job.
Yeah, I forgot. She's for good reason.
Well, I will say there are certain people who either claim allergies or are allergic to aspects of the vaccination. My cousin Melissa, she's sick a lot,
Yeah.
and she's under the impression that that vaccine is going to make her go into anaphylactic shock or something because she has an allergy. She might be right, but I wouldn't want to find out, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, if that is a possibility for some people because they're allergic to certain things, then let's just, like, let them make their own decision for good or for bad.
But the scare tactics that they're using
Are absurd.
to persuade.
Absurd.
Um,
Like, it's ridiculous.
Oh yeah. When you keep on saying the unvaxxed,
Well,
even
it's-
people with the vaccination can still get it. But
Well, like, there's an irrational fear there coming out of the Democratic Party that I just don't understand. Because they're like, the unvaxxed are killing us. It's like, no, because Catawba County, the hospitals there are putting out the posts
yeah,
with the people and it's showing all the vaccination records. And the people who are dying of the the people who are dying of COVID are not vaccinated typically. But there are a significant number of people who are vaccinated who are hospitalized, but they're not dead. So
Yeah.
thank God, right? But
what happened to those posts with these numbers with people that had underlying conditions?
yeah.
They've thrown that to the wayside.
Well, that should be in a little bracket underneath that big graph that should say, comorbidities times 3 or times 2. How many people died with 3 or more comorbidities? Smoking, obesity,
yeah.
diabetes, whatever the comorbidity might have been. That should be listed as well. And, that should be listed whether you die and you're vaccinated or not vaccinated. It should be listed. And I know that's a lot to put on a chart, but I think it's important.
It's a lot to put on a chart, but you can fluff these pie graphs and charts any way you deem.
I know.
Are we getting the full truth? Are we getting scare tactic truth?
I
Untruths
feel
or-
I feel honestly that at least the hospitals in Catawba County, they're trying their best to provide accurate information. Now I don't know what Mission's doing. Up here. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. But I feel like good people are making those graphs and they're trying real hard. Now they might be missing certain things, certain places, but they're trying. And believe it or not, man, those graphs have been really influential in getting people to Walgreens to get.
Okay. We're worse off than we were last year.
I think so.
That's what the numbers are indicating. That's what they're trying to
The
project.
the social cleansing is in its rarest form right now, of taking lives. Like I feel like we're losing more lives now than we did last year. Am I correct on that?
They're not broadcasting the numbers like they were last year.
Yeah.
But, every once in a while when I'm at work, you see on the TV, such and such, we hit a new milestone, yada yada, so many thousand. I think, what, or 1 million now or something or another?
Mhm.
But it's just like, why must they try to scare people? When, if we're worse off than we are last year, why are we open? Why are kids in school? Why are
I
these?
said the same thing
why
to
are
my wife
these
the other day.
life-saving places aren't functioning like they were last year?
Yeah, like last year we had camps in the football stadiums, waiting for overflow. We had all this stuff. Everybody was in a hazmat suit.
Yeah.
Everybody, and we were waiting and to catch a baby or something. I don't know what, and this year it's like 2019 again, and nothing's happened yet, but we're dealing with all of it still. And I don't want a lockdown. I don't. I think we're probably handling it the way we probably should have handled 2020. I think. But at the same time, I mean, there's a lot of what ifs. You know, I mean, my wife going to work at the ER. What if? You know.
But what they're projecting on TV in these 24-hour news cycles is a little bit different than what we're seeing.
Well, let me ask you a question. How do you manage yourself in situations which require no fear? Because it's all around us right now. People want you afraid. And you're just a stoic guy. I've always known you to be.
I mean, should be worrisome of something like this that we have never seen before, but we're not going to get out of here alive.
No matter what.
No.
I mean, I do want to live to be 91 or so. I do want to have a long life. I like to have 3 phases of life if possible. I want to watch my daughter grow up as you have. I like to see her get married. I'd like to have grandchildren one day and then take on that role. I would. But, nothing's promised. And that's kind of the fun of it, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's not the fun of it. That's how you got to live life.
I mean, what I mean is, like, life wouldn't be worth living if it was always... If we didn't die, if there was no, death, if it was just the Garden of Eden all the time, we would take it for granted. As humans, we would all take it for granted. And we would treat each other horribly.
Well, we do that now.
Yeah, but we would definitely do it then. I think.
I just... One day at a time. You always say your love yous and... just live. I mean, I just...
Have you had anyone close to you pass?
Here recently?
In general. I don't mean about COVID or anything like that.
Oh, yeah.
And when, was it an uncle or a cousin or a family, like a father, or I don't know?
Like, meaningful?
Yeah.
Like, when my grandfather passed, that was probably the worst one.
Did you feel a sense of transcendence at that point, or a growth in rank in the family after he passed?
No.
Well, when Dad died, I was the guy. I turned into the man of the family.
Yeah.
It was a eye-opening moment for me to realize that, like, I was there. I was gonna be mowing Mama's lawn, well, until John Stallings started mowing it. But I was gonna be.
Yeah.
I was gonna be the guy taking care of Mom. I was gonna be, the man of the house in a way after that. And I didn't really feel like I grew up until Dad went. I was still out sowing wild oats in Utah, skiing around, snowboarding around, just kind of like taking life for granted, like I said.
Yeah.
Nothing bad can happen, and then gone. Next day, I'm realizing, my fate as a man in a way. And it was a strange transition for me, but I did it. I didn't do it without a lot of anxiety, but I did do it. But it was really hard, and I'm wondering how other people feel about that, when they have to handle loss in that way.
I'm not the eldest male in the family. I have an older brother. So
Okay. Your older brother. How much older than you is he?
He's 5 or 6.
Okay.
47.
Well, I'm the only boy.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm surrounded by women all the time.
Well, that's natural selection. It's just like, but with the thing that put in perspective for me is my mother and my grandpa's relationship. It's just when he passed, it changed my mom.
Yeah, so I mean, what happened? How'd she change?
I mean, you can tell that a piece of her
Was no longer there.
Yeah. It's just like, I seen the shift.
Yeah. Yeah. When is life most rewarding to you, Freddie? When do you get the most out of life? Are there moments in time you can think of?
Like, expand that?
I don't know how I leave them open ended because I hope people might have a way to grasp onto them in their own way. But so like, you saw your mom transition and stuff like that, but there's silver linings there, and you know you can easily think. I had a week or two there after Dad passed when I was like, God, life's just. I lived on a really busy road in Sandy, Utah. It was like a 4-lane, and it was bustling. And I'm like, God, these people don't give. They don't know. They don't care. They don't know me.
Yeah.
And they're just going on. And like, I'm over here like with the brakes hit hard on my life because I'm reflecting on my father's death. And I hate to bring up a dream, but like, I laid down on the couch like the afternoon after I got back, and I was just moping around, my dad's dead, my tail's between my legs, and I heard the doorbell ring, and then I heard my dad say, "Get up, boy." I go to the door, and no one's there, and I just look out at that road, busy, swish, and it was like, and then I kind of heard, I didn't hear anyone say it, but I heard this intention, get to work. And you gotta go. You can't stay there because that's where depression will set in. That's where all the bad things set in. And like, when I got back to work, it was really strange. Like a lot of really good things started happening for me, and I wasn't even doing anything different. I was just there. I was present. I remained present in my life, and I found great reward and even, kind of resolution with my relationship with him when I did get back to work. And so I found great, that was one of those moments for me. Like, and that might be a bit too emotional for you, but like, it doesn't have to be that deep. But like, where do you find the most reward in your life at this point? Is it in your work? Is it with your family? Are there certain aspects of when you're with your family? Like, when is it?
It's any time that I have to spend with my family, but even so with that is I always try to keep myself at an even keel. Mm-hmm. Never get too high and never get too low. Mm-hmm. Just like I always take the time to enjoy the day that I have.
Well, that's stoicism, and that's the practice of stoicism, and it's hard for a lot of people. I know me. And I don't even think you're not like, I'm going to be stoic today. You're not like going, I'm going to do this stoically. Yeah. You're just being even keel. And and I can only imagine that there are times when other people's emotions around you are not that way.
Yeah.
And you are remaining Freddie. You're remaining this even keel guy,
Well, it's not that. Sometimes like when my day gives to shit or something or other, I got to get myself back down so I can continue my day.
What do you do?
Like, go outside, step
go
outside.
For a walk?
No, like when I'm at work, just step outside.
Mm-hmm.
Count to 10. You know how much that works? Just counting to 10 in your head.
Yeah.
And there's this guy that worked at MDI. I think he close to 40, 45 years. Older gentleman. I was like, son, older black dude, all right? Don't let these people get the best of you. You ever get a problem, you ever have a problem, they start to get on your nerves. He was real religious, so he didn't cuss or anything. He had this, it reminds me of my uncle and my grandpa, his country little sayings, like, just get you a cold glass of ice water. Mm-hmm. Like, step to the side, drink that.
So he saw you hot one day again.
Oh, well, workplaces and, you got 200 or 300 people in there. Everybody's not on the same wavelength and stuff. So, hairs will raise from time to time.
Sure,
so
yeah.
That was his deal. Just get you a cold glass of ice water, son.
I think that does it great.
I mean, and I think he told me that like 17 years ago or something or other. And then that's just like...
You were just 20 then. 22, 23, right?
Oh, well, it was my first stint there, so probably about 20, 21.
Yeah. Sage advice.
Oh yeah, but that and then just going for my, even when it's raining, I gotta get my walk in.
Hmm. I've been riding the bike, but same thing. You know, 20 miles on a bike is 5 miles on my feet, and so I get it in whenever I can.
Now, do you feel strange if you don't get it in?
Yeah, well, like today I was like, so I've been getting into a ritual before a podcast where I go do some hard cardio, because then I get myself kind of like locked in and stoic, right?
Yeah.
But today I was just tired, so like I took a nap. I took like an hour long nap, and I feel good. Like I'm, in my own. It's different,
Yeah.
because I don't have, you want to work out, like especially once you start doing it a lot.
Yeah.
You just want to keep doing it every day. But like today, I decided to not. I should have got it in this morning if I was going to do it.
But you still need that break.
Yeah.
But it's like you work at home, so you technically don't have to worry about the outside forces bringing you down.
And I feel really grateful. And honestly, like, I don't know how I did it, and I don't know how long it's going to last. And I worry that, like, I'm not going to be able to hold on to this for as long, because
But enjoy it for as long as you have it.
soaking it up, man. And I'm using it to bring as many people to me as I possibly can to build each episode with a person is an add-on to my portfolio for this type of work.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to use this to my best abilities right now. And I was blessed with this space, and so I put it to work, made the best of it.
See, because my decompression is the walking, and it's like since I'm on my, I guess, next phase in life, like the kid's grown,
I know, right?
it's, well, I wouldn't say grown.
She's grown. She's grown.
Okay, grown.
She's in her dorm right now. She's grown.
Yeah, I don't know what she's doing right now, but that new phase in life, it's just like once we took her up to school, and then the next day heading into work, it's just like, I don't know about this.
Empty nest.
No, it's not empty nest. It's just like I finally have the space to jump off that diving board and just try to work for myself.
What do you want to do?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Let's talk about it. That's my favorite thing to talk about with people.
It's just,
What did you always want to do? Like, well, I touched on this a bit earlier. What did you want to do when you, like, not like a kid, like idealistic kid, but like when you were like 14, 15, 16, what was in your head for like what you might do? You didn't have unrealistic things going on
the
in your head.
architecture.
Architecture. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's never too late, dude.
But the math scares me on that.
The math. All right.
The math totally scares me on that.
But there are other aspects of, of work in that field that you could step into.
Yeah, like just the CAD design blueprints.
I mean, set design. So, like, let me tell you about. I've had a similar transition in my life. I plateaued as a camera operator a long time ago. Now, there are camera operators out there who are way better than me, and they might as well be like lieutenants in the Air Force compared to me. Okay, they're better, and they work on larger rigs that I could never get my hands on. Okay, but I plateaued in camera, and I became bored behind the camera. I plateaued in post production, and I am bored in post. I don't like to do post. I like to produce. But then during COVID, I realized I really love working with my hands to a point where I could be in tears telling you about how much I love working with my hands. But I don't want to go and like work in construction and like build a house. I don't care about building someone's house. I want to build sets. Like, call me. I want to build sets. You know what I mean? Like, set design became a passion of mine during COVID because I realized I'm good at it.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was good at it. And I was like, this is where I could really find peace. Isn't just building one set after another. Specifically, podcasting studio spaces would be great. But that's just me being comfortable in a niche. I would love to expand on my horizons eventually and do other things. But like building studio spaces is really something that I hope to get my teeth around before I'm 50, right? I have 10 years, 11. And so like in your case, you're kind of in a similar situation, and it doesn't have to be such a daunting task. Architecture is a big word.
Yeah.
But inside architecture, there are subdivisions of types of labor that you can accomplish, which could eventually lead you to working directly with an architect or even becoming one if you decide to do the school.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just, I love to, do blueprints, floor plans, stuff like
it's
that.
so fun, isn't it?
Stuff like that. But I'm at a space to where I don't want to be that old Scrooge, the old guy that that hates people.
Mhm.
It's just
That's mad because he didn't follow his dreams, or
I want to work alone. I need that solo type job.
well, let me tell you something about working alone. We good? Okay. Let me tell you something about working alone. Where you have what you have now, 200 people in a shop, and you're all working in that warehouse, and you're like, I need some air, I need a drink of water. And you just need to get away. In this environment, you find yourself clinging on to every person you see, and they're like, hey man, you're talking a lot. Can you leave me alone? Because, they're coming from a 9 to 5, and they're like, I just need people to leave me alone.
Yeah.
And you're like wanting to talk because you're isolated. And it's comical at times, especially with my wife, because she works in a warehouse type closed door pharmacy, and she's filling scripts all day, and there's like 30 other pharmacists and techs in there, and they're all like, and she has beef with some of them, and then she likes some of them, and
Yeah.
And so she comes home and her mouth hurts from talking, and I haven't said a word since I woke up, like outside of maybe to my daughter, right? And so now I get that with her, so I get that back and forth with her. But before she was born, it was like, what am I doing? Who am I talking to? And so I would have to find ways to go into town and create myself situations and positions in town that gave me that outlet. So like I joined the Chamber of Commerce. I was a member of the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce for 2 years in Black Mountain. And so I fulfilled those needs by finding other small business owners to talk with.
Yeah.
But for a while though, I was like, what do I do? And I didn't have any outlet. And when you do that, you have to be really careful, because a lot of the opportunities that you get as a small business owner come from commingling. And so if you're constantly isolating yourself and working on your craft or editing video, it's like I was constantly stuck behind a trough of video to cut. I would realize that I'd pop my head up out of the sand like an ostrich, and I didn't know where I was. My hair was a mess, and I wasn't presentable, and I didn't have any opportunities coming in. And so you have to find a way to create a balance where people know you, they see you, they know what you do, and they acknowledge it, and they can hire you. But then you also have that time to come in and do the post and do all the work that you have to do to keep your studio online. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there's this weird balance you have to find, and it's really hard, because I had 9 to 5s in my early 30s, and then all of a sudden that would end because of seasonal photographer work, which were 9 to 5s, and then I'd be like, what do I do? And I'm all alone, and so you have to go find things. Luckily we have the internet. I don't know what I would have done in the 70s.
It's just it's like my frame of thinking. If I can work hard and productive for the 20 years that I've did for the company that I work for,
There's no reason why you can't do it again.
I can work as hard, if not harder, for myself.
I mean, and don't be afraid of an apprenticeship at this time in your life. I mean, I'm serious. Guys, creative guys, architect guys, I wouldn't want to be hiring or bringing on an apprentice in their 20s, because they're just flight of fancy types. The young kids just don't get it yet. They haven't had hard knocks. If I were an architect and someone like you came to me and said, "Hey, listen, I did this work for 20 years, but my passion has always been in architecture. I've always wanted to become. I really love working with these things." I'd say, "Well, I like your work ethic. Let's give you a chance." I would give you a chance. I mean, in a heartbeat. But that's also, I know you.
Yeah.
And I know your work ethic from sports, okay? Like, I saw enough a long time ago. So I don't know what it'd be like coming in cold on somebody. And it depends on the personality, too. And in the moment you step into architecture, that's like a mathematical group of people, like technician, architect, engineer types. But there's also a layer of artistry to that, too.
Yeah.
And so, that's an interesting blend of, mindsets.
I've got that little avenue, and then it's like the IT world. It's mysterious to me, and I think I would possibly like it. But to
Where would you
sit behind a laptop all day,
Well, yeah.
I know that's hands-on, but it's not the type of...
It's not so hands-on. It's not hands-on like woodwork or anything like that. But yeah, I don't. That's your call, and you're at a fork. You're at one of those forks. I mean, you can. The middle road is staying with your company or with all, and just riding that out to retirement. And then you have IT and the potential of like working with an architecture firm and doing that. But starting that over, if you have the time, I mean, go where your gut is, go where your heart is. IT sounds like a smart, safe decision to me. But architecture sounds like one of those lofty goals that would take like a real leap of faith. And that's what I like.
Yeah. But that RT realm, it's like...
IT, yeah.
IT, it's like software design. Like my mind frame and my mindset is like fixing stuff. Not fixing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's a better way to do that. Easier way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always trying to find that. Or it's just an avenue. It's like...
You don't know Richard Dowdy, do you? He's not in IT so much. I bet he would beg to differ. He'd say, "Oh, I do a good amount of IT," but he's a website developer, and he lives in Old World South. He has a wife and 3 boys, and he's going to come on the podcast I think next week. But he does a lot of website design work, and he'll tell you how hard it is, and especially during COVID, it got real slow. And so, like, you have to distinguish the difference between IT and website development with people, because they're going to go, "Oh, you build websites?" And then they'll want to pay you $300 to build a website or some bullshit.
Yeah.
And so you have to really say, and so if you did go IT, you may want to consider, well, they don't have Comcast here, but I remember there were a bunch of IT guys that worked for Comcast out in Salt Lake. They're always hiring. Always hiring. Would you consider what Adam McCall does IT work, DirecTV stuff? Is that IT work? He's like...
Doesn't he fix...
He fixes dishes, I guess, right?
I guess that would...
That's IT work in a way, and that's super hands-on. I mean, if that's a route you want to go, talk to him, right? And that might be the hands-on type of IT work you're talking about. But I personally would shy away. If it were me, I would shy away from the computer work just because it becomes monotonous and mundane. And unless you've been at it for 22 years already, competition's pretty fierce, And so...
Yeah, but there's so much work out there that...
Well, not in the website realm, I would say, because that's becoming very DIY.
Yeah.
Not in web development, and that's not IT. I mean, I guess it's not, but certainly in, I guess, what's the right word? Computer engineering and stuff like that. I mean, I'd love to see how much you know. I'd love to see how far you are along
With computers?
with computers and stuff like that.
Nowhere.
Nowhere. Okay.
Nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta start somewhere. If
Yeah,
you
I'm
want
just
it.
saying, but I got time now.
You do have time, and that's cool, man. That's do what you feel's right. You know, find a leg in, find a cracked door somewhere, and put your foot in there and get in. If that's what you want to do. It's tough. Would you call it a midlife crisis? Would you call it that, or would you just call it a transitional moment in your time?
Let me tell you why I hate the midlife crisis phase. That word itself.
Yeah,
Okay.
because you're not in the middle yet.
I would be for a black man.
Well, I guess. I mean, white man's so life expectancy is like 78, so I'm there now, 39.
I think mine is like 72.
Is it?
Yeah.
I think you'll live a lot longer than that. Freddie.
Is it 69, 72, something like that?
I think that the Xennial generations, and especially the millennials, we're going to super exceed our life expectancies as of now. I don't believe we're going to live the same way like the boomers and the generation before them have. 78 seems young.
The people in the 60s to the mid 70s, they ate better than we did. Just look at how the food has. How often do you cook?
A lot.
A lot?
A lot.
Okay.
Probably 4 times a week. We eat out a good amount too, but a lot. But when we eat out, it's like sushi.
Okay.
We eat sushi, or like I'll go get some. All right, we'll get some pizza.
So it's not these,
But I'm not.
drive-throughs type deal.
I mean, once every 2 weeks, you might catch me with like a double stack from Wendy's or from McDonald's or something. But once every 2 weeks, and that's only because my kid is screaming and she wants a Happy Meal, and I can't get her to stop.
But gotta treat them time to time. Okay, back to the midlife crisis. Why they give that such a bad connotation for a man,
Yeah.
supposedly to hit midlife crisis? So this whole time, it's been bad for a man to work, bust his ass, provide for his family, put back for children's college, help pay for things, and then when his children are out of the house, out of school or something or other, he goes and buys him a Porsche.
If he can afford it.
Even if he's making payments on it.
It's always sad though when you see him get to the Corvette or something and they're like way old. I'm like, man, it's too bad you couldn't have gotten that when you were 40, bro. Because it's a shame that it takes him so long.
But it's not a shame. He put his enjoyment on the back burner for the family.
He did.
Now, what pisses me off is when you see the younger guys
Yeah.
that,
Have you been to a Porsche rally? It's interesting. So like, there are 2 different types of people, and they'll show up in gangs. Like they'll show up like gangs, and so like 22 Porsches will roll up, and they're all on their deathbed. Like mothballs are coming out their ears, right? And they're all in really old Porsches. The ones, they're nice. They're all junk buckets, but they're collectors. And then, like, because they'll meet at the meet. They'll meet, like, at Brevard or something. And then
those are the purists.
The purists. But then, like, you'll get this other group show up, and they're more mixed. But, like, there are some, like, 17-year-olds driving Panameras. And then there's, like, a 32-year-old driving, like, a really nice one.
GT3 or something.
Like, yeah. Like, the new.
Yeah.
And you're like, damn. And you look at them, and then they do not coexist with each other. They don't even talk to each other. They're just like, look at each other, and they're not in common. Even though they're all driving Porsches.
That irks me. Like, maybe they do make enough to drive something like that, but do you have... Most families are pushed to the brink. Paying for all this stuff, but it irks me when people say, "Oh, he's got a midlife crisis. Look at him in his car." No, he did it the right way.
Yeah, I mean, and at this point in your life, if you had the clout, you maybe instead of going into IT or architecture, you would just go, I'm just gonna go get that. I'm just gonna go get that badass ride, and
I've been looking at stuff. I've been test driving stuff, but it's not gonna be
it doesn't fit
something
until it fits.
extravagant. Yeah.
Well, see, for me, like with my work, I was constantly being pressured by social media and by peers. You know, you need to make sure you look good when you're going out and taking these real estate agents around.
What?
You
In
need to
your
make-
in
you know?
your line of work.
But like you and I get along really well online because we understand a good deal, and there's nothing better than the depreciation of a luxury car. The depreciation on the Cadillacs and Mercedes is insane.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, you know. And so like I'm like, oh look at that 2008 right there. Wow, look, $6,300, and that was a $58,000 car just 10 years ago, right? And now I'm not looking at the 08s, I'm looking at the 2014s, because the 2014 Escalade is like $14,900. That's well within reach,
Yeah.
right? And you're like, oh God, that was in that Ludacris video. That was the ride. That was, you know, and so you know that you can get your hands on these luxury vehicles for much less than they used to be. But my wife, when she was admiring my ability to know how depreciated this nice car was, and I was like, well, this isn't really where the big deals are. The real depreciation is in exotics, you know.
Yeah.
So we go from $380,000 after the first sale down to I don't know what, and then after 3 owners of a Bugatti Veyron or a Bentley or something like that, rides now $93,000, and that sounds like a lot of money, but you know when it was owned by Boston Celtic,
Oh, that's resale value right there.
you know, you're just like, you know, and so like that's just not where I am, and I'm not going to go spend that money, but I admire that depreciation on that high end,
Oh yeah.
and I see it.
But you have that option to say yes or no. Like you said, it's obtainable now. It's like just
Well, a Bentley's not obtainable
well,
for me, but
the other
the
luxury
the Cadillacs and the Mercedes are certainly attainable now.
where you're like, I used to want that. Now I don't want it anymore.
Yeah, the Lincoln Navigators and stuff like that, really nice. And you're like, okay. And so we're looking at a second kid, and so like eventually we're going to start looking into that, and so you never know.
See, now you can, start thinking about the station wagon Cadillac.
The new one? You talking about the new one?
I think it's discontinued, but that frame.
I don't even know what you're talking about. It was what year do you think?
16. I think 12 through 16.
Oh, it's the CTS wagon.
Yeah.
So I own the saloon, but then they have the wagon. Now the rare one is the CTS 4 wagon. That's the all-wheel drive wagon. And my thing is, when you see them in person, they look like a hearse. And so I'm like, unless they're like studded out and they've got the nice wheels. And, when you see them, they're stock.
Yeah.
And they're all right. But they remind me of a Dodge Magnum in a lot of ways.
But it doesn't have the soul of a Magnum.
What do you mean?
Like that, the Corvette engine sounds and performs a whole lot better than the Hemi.
Okay, I can't disagree. So you're saying like the CTS wagon, so that's the CTS V.
Yeah.
And that's its own rarity. All right. Oh, she's pulling it up. Yeah. See, hearse, stock hearse, right? But now look up the CTS V wagon. It's different. Yeah, maybe you might be looking at it right there with the black wheels. There you go. Hit it. Yeah, see, it just looks a little bit better. They're pretty. But I'll tell you, that back seat's truncated. It's tight. And big guys, what are you, 6'2"?
I'm probably 5'11".
All right,
at the
we'll call you
most.
6 foot. But I mean, you would be in the front seat anyways of that thing. You wouldn't be sitting in the back, but it's tight in the back. It's just a low hood, and it can be comfortable if you want it to be, but there's not as much room to move around. The thing that bugs me about the CTS saloon is that you can't drop the seats down for more storage in the back. They're locked in place. You can open up the little cubby in the middle, and
Yeah.
you got that like 5x7 cubby to put like some wood through or something.
Yeah. Normally the hatches or the 5 doors have where you fold down seats.
That hatchback would fall down, but the one with the trunk and just the regular Cadillac sedan, it doesn't come down, and so that's a frustration of mine all on its own. Because I thought for a long time I could get it open, and then I couldn't open it. And I'm like, I just thought I was an idiot. I'm like,
Throw your rack on top of it.
I might. See, this is the thing. Long story short, January 2020, I'm really looking at Escalades. Really looking at them. So much so that I went and found the identical Escalade to the CTS that I have. And I sent a picture to my uncle, and he's like, "How'd your car do that?" And I'm like, "No." It looked like it transformed into because it's the same front grille.
Yeah.
Everything's the front is the same. It's just beautiful. I love that look. And I started having a real long conversation with my uncle about it because he's a gearhead. He owns a Porsche 911, right? I mean, it's insane. And his Porsche never depreciated in value. It's actually worth more now than it was when he bought it in 1996. And so, he knows cars, and I was sitting there looking at that car, and it was 14.9. It was 14.9, 2012 or something like that. And it was okay, but like when you got up close to it, it had some like issues, like the paint had bubbled on the mirror.
Yeah.
Like things that you love about it if it's your car already, but things you don't love if you're going to buy it. And it was clean inside, but it had like tan floor, not black floor, where my CTS has a black floor, tan seats. That's what I want, because that black floor protects you from look at mud. And the tan floor had been shampooed a bunch, but someone got in there with red clay on their feet. And so I was like, I don't know. It didn't feel right. But I had given up on that one, but I was still looking around, and my uncle was like, "Hey, Josh, something's weird right now. I just don't think you need to be buying a car." January 2020. We didn't know about COVID till March 17th.
Yeah.
St. Patrick's Day was when COVID was here. It arrived like an alien ship on our planet, And I was like, "I don't know. Are you sure?" He's like, "Listen, just fix it." And at the time, it was going to cost me like $1,100 to fix the Cadillac and get it back online. And I was like, man. And I was talking with Orlando Avalos, because he's my mechanic most of the time. I drive to Monroe so he can fix my car.
Okay.
Right? Just because I trust them, and they're my friends, and they give me a good deal. And I didn't have the money to fix it at the time. And I made a leap of faith. I was like, fine, you know what? I'm gonna double down on you, Cadillac CTS. I love you. I'm gonna keep you, because I did like it.
Yeah.
That check engine light wouldn't go off. It was making noises. It was just not good.
Is it a V6 or a V8?
V6. Yeah, I think it's a 2.8, might be a 3.2, but whatever. But I fix it. I get it fixed, and then COVID hits, and I'm like, God, I'm so glad I don't have that car payment right now, because it would have been like $400 a month, $380 something, and
Yeah, sweating.
my uncle comes over after COVID, and he's like, "Yeah, good job, you listened to me for once," and I'm like, I listen to you, man.
Oh,
Don't tell me I don't listen to you. So, it was a close call though. Because had I bought that, I don't think this would be here. Had I bought, $400 a month, wiping me out every, like this costs a significant amount of money to install. Now a lot of it was labor intensive, and wood wasn't expensive yet.
Well, you told first time I was here, you were telling me about the doodads and stuff that you were buying here and there.
Well,
you wouldn't be able to do that.
But so the big camera here, I bought that during COVID, you know, and that was a $2,800 investment. Got it used, depreciated, brand new, 8,400, right? You know, and so you know how to.
Yeah.
I take my car buying skills, I turn them into camera buying skills, and so like I got all, you know, I mean, this was the most expensive sound mic I have, and you know that was $500. I wouldn't have been so quick to release my cash if I had that $400 car payment coming in. So lucky break. And what's crazy is I felt blessed because after I did the catalytic converters on it, I replaced both of them, and I bought the catalytic converters off of Rock Auto, and I drove them to Orlando, and Orlando put them on, or Amero did, and you know, and then my car was up to snuff.
Yeah.
There were still a few things that I needed to fix, but I got them fixed up here in town, and the check engine light just never come back on. You know, it's always on. Check engine light would never go off for years.
Hey. That's how you live sometimes. You just gotta make it.
Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad that like I can live in a debt-free way, and I don't ever want to leave being debt-free again. I became debt-free in May of 2020. It was really strange. So I I owed about $5,500 on my not Discover, but on a credit card for work, and it was just like stock media that I bought and other knickknacks that I bought in 2019 and 2018, and it was Amex. And in January of 2020, American Express just decided to cancel my auto payments, and I don't know why. They canceled my auto payments in January of 2020, and I didn't notice because I had it on auto pay.
Yeah.
And then 30 days rolls,
Ooh.
and then it rolls into February, and they didn't send me a notice, hey, you missed a payment, your percentage went up. They said, you've been sent to collections. You can't call us about this debt anymore. And I was like, what? And I thought I was getting, like, bamboozled. I didn't know what was going on. I was like, y'all should have given me a notice. I didn't get an email, a phone call, nothing. And they just sent me straight to collections. And then this collection company out of India started calling. And I was like, you're a scam. I don't know who you are. You're a scam. Because you don't.
Yeah.
And then eventually, after I finally got a hold of someone at American Express, which took hours, by the way, they told me that they could not do business with me anymore. I had to talk to this company, and they gave me their number. I said, fine. And so one morning I woke up ambitious enough to just call them. And I started the conversation with them. I apologized for hanging up on them 18 times, all the stuff. And they were this company in India. And we talked a lot for about 4 days. I was escalated. And I kept talking with these Indian men. And they were like, we don't know, sir, we don't want to tell you, but you owe this money. And I was like, listen, it's COVID time. I don't have, COVID-19's here. I don't have work. I don't have any way to just pay you this debt off, you know. And it's hard for me to remember how it all went because it's been so long from now, but they, I had a long conversation with their manager, and I told them about how much the impact of the Indian culture or the people who've moved here have had on our culture, and I was like sweetening the pot a little bit, but I was being honest.
Yeah.
You know, because I love my Indian food, and I made friends with people at these restaurants, and I explained to them, you know, the impact that they've had on us as a culture, as Americans, and he was so proud on the phone, and he offered to let me pay out for half of what I owed, which would have been like $2,900. I was like, let me call you back. The next day, the pandemic assistance came in for $2,900.
Oh my goodness.
You know, and I'm like, what is that? It doesn't make any sense. And so I paid it, and I was debt free after that, and I just stayed debt free. I just stayed. So I hope I never have to go back. But it seems like you gotta get in sometimes. You gotta buy a car. You gotta, like, my wife is looking to do the front, and she wants to do a home equity line, and it's like, oh my God, here we go again. But
But you can control that right there.
Yeah, you can. And it's only going to build value. Man, do you know what value of property is up here? It's insane.
I'll pull it up on Zillow tomorrow when I'm at lunch. I can imagine.
Well,
I can imagine.
I tell you what, the value of the property's gone double versus what we bought, and the house down here went for well over double what it was worth, like when we moved in, and it's not as high up on the mountain. It doesn't have as much square footage, and it's like it's happening all around us, and we're over here wondering where the bubble's gonna pop.
I
But
think this is the new norm.
I mean, it can't keep going.
I don't think it's gonna.
Are we gonna hit 2 million in property value in like 2040? Like, what is that?
I don't think
That's
it's
massive
gonna.
inflation.
I don't think it's gonna go back to normal. I don't think houses are gonna be like $80,000 houses move-in ready, $150,000 houses move-in ready.
Well, let me throw a wrench into the conversation. How do you think Bitcoin is going to play a role in home buying in the future? Bitcoin, Dogecoin, whatever. Just crypto.
Well, Doy just fell on his face.
Well, there needs to be one. I don't feel like we need to have a bunch of different cryptos going on.
I mean, it's got to be something other than Bitcoin so everybody can get in on it.
Well, I don't know a lot about it. I'm going to be having... You remember a guy named Zach Hacker?
Zach, I'd probably have to see his face.
He's a real know-it-all when it comes to Bitcoin. I've invited him on. Maybe by the end of the year we'll get him in here. But I need to bring in some smart people who just know a lot about Bitcoin. David Rodas knows a lot about Bitcoin.
He knows a lot about a lot of stuff.
I know. Getting him down.
He's an intellectual.
He is. His cheeks will turn red when he hears you say that. But it's just he's he's been very open about talking. David and Zach, they've been very open to talking to me about what Bitcoin is, and I haven't invested because I'm frugal, man. Like I don't just jump into. I'm not going to give you my money Bitcoin just cause I don't have $8,000 laying around to do it. Like,
I mean, you can buy fractional shares, but
yeah,
it won't do the same as if you got in the door when it was relatively cheap.
Mm-hmm. Charmaine knows a lot more about it than I do, I think. But she's pleading the fifth today. Do you want to get in on Bitcoin? No. All right. But
She's quiet today.
she is quiet today. She is. It's okay. But I just feel like eventually that's going to open up to the housing market, right? I mean, if Bitcoin becomes a real currency and it's like a competitive currency and it's the most consistent one, which is what they're saying is going to happen over the long run, like Bitcoin or crypto in general, some form of crypto, whether it be a multiple 2 or 3 different types, but they all become standardized with whatever thing's valued.
Yeah.
I mean, that has to settle the housing market. That would have to settle it. If we started working in crypto in the housing market and it became the currency that people use more, because the American dollar's inflation is stupid, and I don't feel like it's consistent from one season to the next. I mean, especially in the housing market, the way things are being valued this and valued that. Come on, it doesn't make sense.
Oh yeah. See, now you're sitting on a nest egg because you said your place doubled in value.
Yeah, it did.
Imagine the people that's buying. Like I'm looking right now.
Yeah.
If I don't buy right, I don't have no equity.
This is the thing. Like, are you looking in Hickory or are you looking?
Just in the general area.
Yeah. For me, like if you can find something that's just really well boned but has a good property, and then you have the resources to do the upgrades to the property, that's where the money's at. That's where things really get popped. Because, what they don't know about this house is we cut down 30 red and white oaks, and we made those red and white oaks our floorboards, like our floors. We have hardwood floors naturally cut from our own property upstairs. We refinished the deck. That's not in the census, the value. We did this whole basement. and I was talking to my agent on the phone today. I love him. He won't come talk because he's afraid he'll lose his job. But he's telling me if I put a real wall here and I block in the stairs, then all of a sudden we can add all that square footage to the property, right? And then so it's no longer one, two. Yeah, it's no longer a 2-bath, 3-bedroom, but it's technically a 5-bedroom, 3-bath, and I mean, that's just a lot more. And so we're working towards that, and we're putting in barn doors right here so they can be open or shut. Come on, it'd be really great. And then the yard. That's the last thing to do, because the yard, if you do the yard, it technically doesn't provide as much value to your home as if you do the home first. But man, if you make it presentable and you put a gate at the bottom, I mean, it's gonna look good.
So would you do all of that and sell?
Nah, I don't think so. Well, I would do all that. God, take us 20 years. But I'd do all that, and I'd put a mother-in-law right there for mom when it's her time, so she can be close. And I would put another hexagonal studio up on the mountain right there, like on property. And so then we'd have, there, and then we'd have those 2 pods there. My buddy Jose Bello, he has this incredible hexagonal design. If you want to get into architecture in any way, I want to introduce you to Jose. Like, if it's really something that you want to just consider, like, he'd put you to work. He'd put you to work, especially if you realize your work ethic early, because he's always looking for people. But he has this concept for a hexagonal pod, which can be standalone or in a grid for like healthy, living within, like it's easy on the environment type stuff. You see these in these utopian like magazines where the pods run and they cascade up the mountainside, and they're kind of like built into the mountainside, and they have little sidewalks and stuff. He's got prototypes done, and I know he's keeping it close to the chest, and he's having a hard time getting it all off the ground because it's an undertaking. But man, like, it's a really impressive model, and they're about the size of this space. Like, only they're hexagonal; they're not square, right? And they've got a kitchenette and a bathroom, and then you can build multiple pods on. So like, you can make one a bedroom, another one a bedroom, a third one a bedroom, then have the kitchen hexagonal, and then have other mud rooms and stuff connected. And so it's like a house that way.
Yeah.
But it looks like a beehive. It's really cool, man. But then there are these other people using the same model for the homeless shelters, and their concept is, instead of like them being side by side, they're stacked. And so homeless people can pay like $2.50 for the night, and they do it with quarters. They hit the quarter machine, and then they can climb in their pod. But that's no different than the way the Japanese live in their busy city districts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've seen those before.
So they're basically sleeping pods, and they get in there, and they can put their things in there, and they're safe. And it's no different than them sleeping in a tent, only now they're regulated, and they're there, and they're out of the way, and they're not in front of someone's home or business. They're where they should be. They're put in a certain place for safety and for cleanliness. And so I love that idea, that honeycomb concept for community living. But I mean, it's kind of Marxist, but if it helps people get by, and it can help cure the homeless issues we're having, or unhoused issues we're having, why not?
Why is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing, but like, people are fighting right now over how to fix the homeless problems we're having, and you don't see it so much here. But
there's plenty of ways to fix the homeless situation. It's just it costs money that people don't want to direct towards that.
But I mean,
area.
How much money have we wasted in other departments? How much money was wasted now in Afghanistan over the last 20 years? If we're just going to pull out the way we pulled out, raw dog style,
that was atrocious.
Yeah, but I mean, if we're just going to pull out like that, and just, that was that was rough, and then just leave it the way we left it, leave all of our military weapons behind, just be out like that. Why would we just let that raw cost go to waste if we could have gone back and used that money to help at the time, which would have been a good time to invest in our homeless population and making them better off, is in the early 2000s before it got really out of hand.
Because you know why? Because all that military equipment has been paid for.
Still has value though. I mean, what? How much does a cannon depreciate over 5 years? How much does a tank depreciate over 5 years? It's still a tank.
There's a cost plus appreciation.
Yeah.
There's a term for war to where how it's financed and stuff. Cost plus percentage.
Okay.
If you dive into that, it'll just blow your mind.
Sounds like she is. Are you diving into that? Yeah.
Let me see if I can. It's cost plus something. Like when the Iraq War started, Cheney,
But yeah.
his Halliburton company,
Mm-hmm.
just overcharging for everything.
Everything.
Everything and anything.
Cost plus percentage of cost system. Bring it up.
A form of contract formerly used but now illegal for use by the DoD. What's the DoD? Department
Department of Defense.
Defense. That provided
So
for
they got
a
rid of it.
provided for a fee or profit as a specified percentage of the contractor's actual cost of accomplishing the work to be performed, sometimes referred to as cost plus or percentage of cost contract. Now, the idea to get out of Afghanistan really wasn't a bad idea, and
It's how they went about it.
it's how they went about it. But it seems like it needed to happen, but maybe not the way it happened. Right? And so, I mean, we can talk about the atrocities of what happened all day, but the silver lining to this is that burden of cost is no longer on us.
Or is it?
Right.
Well, any place we do go to war, we turn around and rebuild their cities.
Well, we didn't in Afghanistan. We tried, but we couldn't. Right? We never even got to that point.
Never got to that point.
I mean, they did build things up, but like Leon was like, we just need to go through there and clean sweep and just wipe them all out. And then I added, and put in a Target and a Starbucks and just see if they go in them. See what it's like. What are we gonna do? Put a Home Depot in there right in the middle of Kabul? Like, I mean, I'm sure it would be helpful, but like, if they don't want help, Home Depot isn't gonna be for them. I mean, and a lot of the Afghans did want help. That's the sad part. But
See, but with that, that military equipment and stuff was probably over there getting renewed over and over again from that cost plus percentage aspect. It's been paid for times 4 or 5.
yeah,
So what's the point of bringing it back
it's just gonna be more. Yeah,
to where their main thing with that, I think they dropped the ball with not getting the Americans out of there.
no, yeah. Well, that. I mean, they dropped the ball for not getting anyone who wanted to leave out in general. I don't care if they're American or not. If someone there feels like that they're going to be prosecuted against or put into some type of encampment or place that they don't want to be, they should have the right to leave.
I may sound like an ass, but
Oh, whatever, man. So,
I'm just saying, but even though there's still tiers to citizenship in America, Americans should have been the first to leave,
yeah.
and then if people wanted to leave,
Well, this is the thing about Americans, though. Like,
I know it's a melting pot.
No. Americans stay till the job's finished a lot of times, and that's why they're still there. And I mean,
Civilians?
maybe not civilians, but certainly the military. And I know they all got out unless they were bombed or whatever in that last event, which was horrible. But I mean, I will say for civilians, I think if I were there as a civilian, but I had connections and made friends and colleagues there, and I would be helping other people leave. Like it would be, I would feel a duty to do that, right? And selfishly, eventually, I would not want to play and get out of there.
Yeah, but
But I would be like making sure. I would have been like what Pineapple Express guys were, how those guys were. And those guys waited till the end to get everyone they could out. And they put their lives in danger to make sure that these people, they didn't even know them, Afghan people and others, got out before they did. And then they got out. And the Taliban, it may have been more dramatically stated over through the news, but like the Taliban were on their tails, right? Coming to get them. So.
we're supposed to be the best of the best.
Mm.
I mean, you don't depart being the best of the best
Well, my
in that
dad-
fashion.
I wanted to be a quarterback in the 4th grade. And my dad said, son, you got to understand what it means to be a quarterback. You got to be the first guy there, the last guy to leave. And that's the mindset that I've kept since, right? And I wasn't the best quarterback, but I had that mindset. And that's the leadership mindset. He explained that he's like, you leave when I leave. You arrive when I arrive as the head coach.
Yeah.
We should be in the same truck together.
Well,
Yeah.
you were at a disadvantage too.
For height?
No, not
Size?
for height. Coach's son.
Mm-hmm.
Of course he's gonna be a quarterback. Just that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you did, show up late or wasn't the first one in the building, coach's son, of course, he can get away with it.
Yeah. Well, luckily for me, that I was never late. Or
I'm just talking about that mind frame.
But I had one instance at East and Keelan Huntley rode my ass about it. I deserved it. But I cut line to get the pads I wanted as a junior. Seniorities.
Yeah.
And I was the newest duck. I was my first year at East. I was 3rd string quarterback. I was the youngest in the varsity locker room outside of sophomores and stuff. And I cut in front of about 18 guys and went and got the quarterback pads, which there was only one set left. I went and got the helmet with the frame,
Yeah.
the one for vision. And there was only 2 of those left. And I got the thick thigh pads, because you got to get the thick thigh pads. If you don't get the thick thigh pads, you're at a disadvantage. And I walked out there smiling like a spoiled little bitch, And Keelan was like, motherfucker, you passed in front of me before I could get those thigh pads. And then one of the coaches saw that I did that. And he's like, you know better than that. And I got rode hard. But I was never late. But that was one instance where, I did take advantage of being the coach's son. And it was the last because I didn't have a choice.
Maybe the thigh pads, but come on. Who else needs quarterback pads if they're not the quarterback?
That was the thing about that team. Like we had Stephen Gibson on. Stephen Gibson was a very good receiver, but he reminded me of Cuba Gooding Jr. and Jerry Maguire. It's like small guy, lots of spunk and ambition, and class president, intelligent.
Yeah.
He could play really well, fast, like 4.40 fast, but small. And those guys were like, he needed the small pair of pants. And those guys were trying to because they wanted to look good in the smalls.
Yeah.
They were trying to get in on the smalls. And we had to stand up for Steven and be like, no, you guys are larges. Go wear your large. He needs the small because the large just literally wouldn't fit. He'd look like a rag doll.
Yeah.
And so, that's just... That team was like that, and there was a lot of issues there, and I didn't help with that one move I made. I didn't help, And had we gelled, we beat Mooresville that year, but we did not beat Fred T. Ford. How's that work?
Okay. I don't think we beat Mooresville
ever. When we beat Mooresville at East, 20-7, mind you, that's a good win, and. They probably were resting their reserves for playoffs. It was like the 9th game of the season. Right.
Still, you don't go into the playoffs with an L.
Yeah, they did, though. They did, and we gave it to them. And we did not make the playoffs that year. We went like 6-something, 6-4.
That was y'all's highlight right there.
But we beat Mooresville, and like I'm coming from Frederick Ford 2 years, and then my senior year, and like Mooresville would like 57-0, like just wipe us out. And then we go and we play Randall and Rodas and Westmoreland and all those guys, Lamont and Jarrell, and we lose in OT by like 1 touchdown. But then they lost to Mooresville by a significant amount.
Oh yeah.
So it didn't add up.
It's a lot different. I mean, y'all are playing for your season because y'all knew that was your last game.
And we gelled that last game. We saw our potential,
Imagine if you'd seen that game 1 or 2, how that season would have went. That's the coaching aspect that, the life lessons, the life that you want to, breathe into children, not young teens and stuff.
Yeah. Well, when did you start playing ball? When you were in middle school, or did you start before that? Did you play pee wee ball?
It was 3rd or 4th grade.
Your teams, you played a Buccaneer then. You were a Buccaneer? Were you a Startown?
I was at Sweetwater Elementary, so
Oh.
we played in the St. Stephen's Optimists.
Got it. Did you have a lot of success early on playing ball? Did y'all win games?
No.
See, we lost a lot too. How did you take those early losses as a kid? Did you learn from them?
First, it was all about wanting to win and stuff, and then it was just for the love of the game. Because we was a ragdoll team. A lot of times, the coach had to go pick up a lot of the players
Yeah.
because the parents wanted them to play,
Well, that was my
but
dad.
didn't want to take them to practice, didn't want to pick them up and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But then, when you're shorthanded, that's the reason why I was so used to playing from the horn to the horn.
Yeah.
Just from the kickoff to the end of the game. Because,
You were in.
yeah, a lot of times we didn't have enough players to, one play defense, one play offense. It's just one of those things. But it was just for the love of the game.
Yeah.
Just so, after the game, because for the most part, I played football with my brother.
Your older brother.
No, Brad.
Brad, okay.
He's a younger brother.
Brad was good.
So it was like, just to be like, hey, I got 5 tackles, you got 4. Or, just to have that one-up, little competition without a competition.
Yeah.
He make a tackle, you slap him on the back of the hand, I make a tackle. He's there to pick me up. Just stuff like that. Those little minute things was the highlight for when you didn't win. Because a lot of times, after hey, what was the score? I don't know.
Yeah. And I'm like that now, like CrossFit and stuff. Like, they're always trying to keep score when you go into the gym. And I'm like, man, can I just get in here and get my 5 rounds in? Like, I don't need to count and I hate how they hit the buzzer and it's like, 0, everybody stop working out. And I'm like, I'm still 3 rounds in. I'm taking my time working on my form. I don't need to stop
Yeah.
right now. And so, like, I don't know, like, I'm going, if I'm going to the gym, I'm going because I enjoy it. I'm not going because I want to get my name on that mark, top 3 or whatever. Same thing's happening there, But yeah.
So that's my thing, just envisioning kids at their best. Because, you've been around it and be like, oh yeah, with a little bit of work, he can be something on the football field. So just, nurturing that into something on the field and then off the field at the same time.
We were on the Bucks, Mountain View, and then with the Giants, and then Jacobs Fork. Never a winning season. We didn't win until I was, at Frederick Ford, and like we didn't. I mean, and the JVs always didn't win, but our varsity could win because they pulled the best.
Yeah.
And the patience you have to play ball, knowing you're going to lose, it's a testament to your time. It's like you really put in the time to be patient enough to just stay and enjoy the game. rather than worrying about, the wins or whatever. But I took a lot of that patience that I was able to gather as a child or adolescent into my work in film. And this is all about losing. If you aren't losing doing this, you're not doing it. Because, it's a really competitive industry, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of apprenticeship
Yeah.
to get to the point where you are, paid to do this work. And then on top of that, the failure, you literally came in and we did this and it failed. First time, that mic failed, and pray to God it doesn't fail again. Got to do it again. Got to start over. Well, this time we're going to do it right. What did we do wrong?
Yeah.
How did we not do this right the first time? And I remember when I played for the Giants, we had like Josh Widener and like that's it, and we didn't score a touchdown for 7 games, and we had this little quick guy on the team. He reminded me of like a raggedy Patrick Swayze, like a long, young, fast kid, white kid, skinny but fast, and he scored a touchdown. And it was the one touchdown we had scored all year, and the celebrations that went on. We could have won the championship.
Yeah.
But like we were playing some team. They were like, "Big whoop, man! You scored a touchdown," and I was like, "You don't understand. We scored the first touchdown of our year, and we were about to finish the season. Like we had like 3 games left, and we scored, and it was like a big win."
And how many practices did y'all talk about? Well, that was probably the highlight of the year.
Well, my dad was the coach, and so we were out there at least 4 days a week. Like we were practicing every day, and it was nonstop. And then finally we scored that touchdown, and the whole team runs to the corner of the end zone, dog piles that kid. It was like
as a team.
It was like Little Giants or something.
It's wild. That right there is what I want to experience day in and day out.
Yeah. I wish I wish we could hold on to it, that's a fleeting thing for me. My life's gone real mundane.
You think so? You got somebody upstairs that you can have daily victories with. The smallest things.
Yeah, I'm not getting patted on the back like that, but, it'd be nice. Husband and wife stuff,
Oh, the daughter. The
my
small
daughter.
thing. Yeah, the small things.
Yeah, Well, she's a real cheerleader. She's like, yeah. She loves all the stuff.
Embrace it.
Yeah, she sparks up over a half stick of chewing gum. So.
And then another thing, it was just like with that, I could either went to Hickory High School, or I could either went to Maiden.
I know, right?
2 winning programs, but.
Maiden would have been your move if you were to do it.
But right there in the middle, Blackburn through Fretty Ford. This is who I blood, sweat, and tears with. This is who I've hung out with in school.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Well, they had that big merger with Maiden when we were in. So you.
It was after me.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I remember we had a few friends from my class. They ended up going there. We were like, "Ah, man, Ethan, he's over at Maiden now." And it was just a Startown guy, right?
Yeah.
But he was across that line.
See, and that's a new thing that I wish parents wouldn't do is hustling these kids around just for a itsy bitsy more amount of.
We both know of one success story with that though, Danny Carr. Do you follow him?
A little bit.
His son, so he had an issue with Maiden, and his son was ineligible. I don't know why, but his son became ineligible, and Danny blamed himself because he pulled him from Ford, took him to Maiden, and then he was ineligible at Maiden, and he was really upset. And Danny took his son up here, and to AC Reynolds, and they welcomed him with open arms. They're like, "Yeah, come on!" And his son was a real gunner, man. He could throw the ball.
Well, Carr was too.
Yeah, I agree. He was my competition. He was a year below me. And I'll tell you what, he could throw about 15 yards farther than me. I was more accurate. But he could throw farther and harder. And so, and him and Chastity had kids, and I mean both of those guys, but they were both athletes, and but long story short, he got him up to AC, and he showed out for a season his senior year, and then he got offered a scholarship at Brevard, and now he's their starting quarterback. And so it worked for them. But hopping him around, though, I agree. In some.
But that was just a fluke thing. I think they have something set up to where you gotta have them in a different school by a certain date within the county stuff.
Yeah.
Just some crazy stuff. But something like that. It's not. I'm talking about just taking the kid from here, because Butler. Butler's been the top dog for how many seasons now? Like, just, okay, my kid's going to Butler now because that's where all the NFL players from Charlotte puts their kids
That's
in.
a bad idea if your kid's not
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But
small fish.
as that, parent who can't see past,
There you go.
yeah,
Yeah.
my son should be this or that. No, you got to be real with yourself.
Well, like with my daughter, and I don't have a son yet, and if I do have a son, I don't know how I'll be, but like with my daughter, I'm like, like the idea of her like going and playing volleyball every day, unless she really wants to, that sounds awful for me. Like, chasing her around, what volleyball's like.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man. And so like I want her to do what she wants to do, but also, like, I don't want to be that helicopter parent hovering over her saying, you better do it this way. And I want her to live up and own up to her, responsibilities. If she's like, I wanted to quit football in third grade, and Dad's like, well, you already started the season, you can't quit. But at the end of the season, if you don't want to play next year, that's fine. And that's cool. But and I did want to play the next year. But I'll hold her to those, accounts. Yeah, but I want her to kind of find her own way a bit. Within reason. I mean, let's keep things logical if we can help it.
That's my logic with with sports in general. With mine, when she was in sports, I was there at practices sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I'd sit out in the car.
Do you ever help coach?
No.
Okay.
No. I wanted to enjoy it, not be one of those.
Yeah.
You seen those coach/parents.
Well, they were offering coaching positions for my daughter's soccer this year, and I saw the email come in, and I was like, well, I have the time, I guess.
That's just me.
But I didn't.
That's just me. I want to enjoy it from the distance.
Yeah. Well, I don't feel like I don't know enough soccer to be a soccer coach. Like, I could go.
Same. Softball.
Yeah.
Volleyball. Definitely
Football.
didn't.
I mean, I'll coach you some football.
Definitely didn't.
Yeah, and that might be fun for me one day to coach a Pee Wee football team if I have the reason to. But, I mean, I don't know. You have to be ready for that because that's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, it's a lot of responsibility.
Because you're taking on the kids.
Kids. The main thing is parents.
If it means my kid can't play if there's not a coach, I'm going to be the coach.
Yeah. But
like if the team dissolves because there's no one there to coach them.
I don't think sports are going to be around much longer.
What do you mean? Tell me that.
Like organized sports through schools?
Well, you saw how Maiden was fizzling out. They were in the Times. Did you see that article? Lonnie Coulter showed it to me when he was in. So the Times literally did a full expose on Maiden High School. And they showed Maiden High School in like 2004, and their team was like they had the whole team. Like, it looked like our team. Like, just like 58 guys up there, 60 guys. And then they showed the team in 2018, and it was like 14 guys. And that was all that was on the team. And that's just how football's fading out. And that's football town. Like, Maiden is big time football.
Yeah. I went to their opener against Ford. It's just like...
It's just not the same?
No, it's not the same.
Where's the hype gone?
These travel sports.
AAU?
AAU. You know they got AAU football and stuff.
Really?
Travel football. Yes.
I did not know that.
That's bigger draws than regular basketball and football and stuff.
What? I mean, is it that there's just no funding? like at the high school level anymore? Like, is the funding going to different places?
It's that booster club mentality that's basically drove most of that. The real athletes out.
There are pockets. Well, like North Lincoln, I have a lot of experience with North Lincoln because I did their highlights in 2019, and we were playing around with 2020, and then everything went to crap. But like North Lincoln's really well organized. They got Nick Basil. They can't help it. Nick's just like a really good coach, and so everyone's really together and they're all on the same page. But when I was out there, I was noticing that like they have state champion cross country team, state champion baseball team, state champion, God name it. There's other things. North Lincoln's just like a real powerhouse. I mean, they took a lot of the kids from Maiden.
Yeah.
And but their football team, third round playoff loss, but like really competitive. I mean, they weren't the Shelby Golden Lions, but they were close. But I was looking at their cross country guys. God, they look like football players. Their cross country guys look like wide receivers, and I'm like, well, there's your fourth touchdown of the game right there. What's he doing running cross country? What's that kid doing playing soccer? They're choosing different sports now.
Exposure. Soccer is probably one of the fastest growing sports.
Well, also think about the ladder to MLS. I mean, it seems like if you're really good, you can get to the MLS a lot faster than you can the NFL.
Yeah. There's 15-year-old, 16-year-old girl that made it to one of the leagues.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Have you ever played competitive soccer in any way?
No.
I played intramural college soccer, just intramurals. It was competitive. And we had a girl on our team, and she was so good. She was eating guys alive. Man, we came in second in the whole tournament.
Yeah.
But guys were like kicking and screaming and cussing themselves because she was murking them.
When you got it, you got it.
But see, soccer's one of those finesse sports. And a really good center fielder can be female. I mean, I really believe that. You don't, because, it's not really a physical sport. Sure, maybe a little. But, a hard shoulder is going to get you a yellow card. And so, it's all about finesse and footwork. And
how much you practice your craft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you can control that ball like it's on a string. There's not much you can do if you don't know the next move.
Do you think football is going to die as a sport? Do you think in the next 200 years football will no longer exist? Will it be in a museum?
Yeah.
Next to a V6 Cadillac CTS?
Yeah.
Next to a Dodge Hemi?
It'll die out for those CTE reasons, but I'm just here thinking about it. Have you ever heard people in rugby talking about CTS?
Yes, I have. That's only because, Australian football, if that's the same thing. Because those guys go hard, right? And they don't wear helmets.
Yeah.
I have a friend that I met on the set of one of these Dirty Dancing Australian TV network shows. His name's Jude Bolton. Jude is one of the biggest football stars in Australia. Really big. And I was lucky enough to meet him and become his friend while we were on set. And there was this scene when it was a Dirty Dancing with the Stars type of show. And there was this girl, and she was from like Austria or something, like the Czech Republic or wherever, and she had to throw her leg up over his head, and when she did, she cleaned his clock. And it was really funny, but it happened on set. And just before that, he and I had been sitting down over like lunch or like an early dinner, and we were talking about CTE, and he was talking about how it was affecting his sport just as well as it's affecting ours. And then right after that, she's like, "Wakak!" And I was like, it's funny, we were talking about CTE just before she did that. And he's like, I know. And his eyes were crossed. His hair was all messed up. It was funny. But yeah, they do talk about it. But probably not as much as we do.
Okay. But yeah, from those standpoints, and then you're having more and more parents saying their kids not playing until a certain age. And football is one of those sports where you can't just throw them out there at 14 or 15.
No, you can't, man. I mean, they really got to start in the third grade if they're going to be worth their weight. And I mean, but my mind's flashing back to Bandy's versus Ledford, 1997, and I was sitting there with my dad and all his coaches at East Lincoln, or it might have been '98, whatever, who cares? But we're at the Bandy's game, and this was when Bandy's won. This was like '96, '97. You remember they
Yeah.
won the whole way. They won, and they had this guy as pulling guard, and he was just looking for someone to plunder. And he comes and he pulls around, and this white, stocky kid from Ledford comes around the corner, blindly doesn't see him, and pops his helmet like 30 feet in the air, and it comes down. And that guy from Ledford, he didn't play the rest of the game. You know, I mean, he probably still can't remember that night. Whoever that guy was, he had to be seeing stars. But the whole place just was like, oh.
See, that's one of those things. Seeing stars, getting your bell rung, taking a play off, because, when they go, that didn't, throw the warning signs like it does now.
Mm-hmm. Well, now it's abuse. If you see that, and if you see a grotesque hit in a game, especially in the NFL, it's immediately flagged. And did you hear what Tom Brady said the other week? I don't always like Tom Brady, but boy, did I like what he said this time. He was defending the defensive plays. He was like, listen, back in the day, the quarterback had to know not to throw it through right down. You're not going to throw a slant right down the middle with LT sitting there, right? You're just not going to do it. But now, these hits are happening because quarterbacks don't know. They don't understand those boundary lines, because back in the day, when you throw that slant and LTB waiting to eat your lunch, you would literally obliterate your receiver for the rest of the game, and he'd be out. And so now, these quarterbacks are throwing that slant, and the defense is rocking them still, because you're going to hit them.
Yeah.
And then the flags get thrown, and then they get 15 yards moved ahead. And it's a great way to get a first down, but it's kind of bogus. It's cheap.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I can literally, if I were a smart quarterback, I'd say, hey, listen, Freddie, run that slant every time. You're going to get hit every time, but we're going to get 15-yard penalties every time they hit you till they stop hitting you. Right. And when they stop hitting you, run for the touchdown. It's like,
yeah,
not fair.
In that same type scenario, like, did you watch the opener, Georgia Clemson game?
I caught whiff, but I didn't.
Just ins and outs of it.
Yeah.
Like, there's a couple of plays in that game that Clemson got because Dabo Swinney, pressured the referees for a call when there wasn't justified. It's those scenarios to where it's still not managed right. Depends on who you play, what's the seeding, and what's at stake. It's one of those things, but it's gonna be lost here in another generation or so.
I give it 30 years, and football is going to be like soccer was when we were coming through. When will it be dismantled? When do you think the NFL will be dismantled, if even? Do you think it'll happen? Do you think, because like the NFL is the only thing holding the rest of it together. If the NFL goes, it all goes. It's like a house of cards.
They'll still find plugs to. As long as you got 4 or 5 star players on each team, that's all you truly need.
It's just so interesting to see so many youth not going out for football when that was like what you did. When I was coming through, I didn't feel like I had a choice. I could have played music in the band. I could have been a trumpeter.
Yeah.
I could have played the drums. But, my mom, she was like, I don't want you in the band. I feel like you should go play football. Go play football.
Damn. My mom didn't want me to play football.
Well, my mom didn't like Mr. Neely.
Oh.
So there was that. But But like she watched my sister play in the band, and like it was cool, whatever. But like she hated going to those band competitions, and like what's the difference? Football and band competitions, the same amount of time.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, literally.
But with these specialized programs, it's not gonna die off immediately. You'll just have a smaller pool of football venues.
Well, like The Rock is trying to bring out a new
He bought the
XFL.
yeah.
I like it, but I don't know how it gets its legs. Excuse me.
I don't understand it either, but
And are they even 11 on 11? Or is that 7 on 7?
I'm not for sure.
Like their uniforms. Looks good. Like, I don't know. He made that investment, and I don't know where it's going. And COVID kind of certainly put the halt on everything, so I can't watch even the NFL with all the fake crowd noise and stuff. Lost its appeal.
That's another thing. Okay. Football season started last weekend.
I completely missed the whole thing. Like
College, they were starting out like
I saw the ads.
the Thursday.
I saw it all coming in. I saw people watching the game on Instagram, but I didn't like sit down and look for it.
And then you take it back. They're painting the crowds and stuff. There was no mask mandates or anything with all that.
Oh my god!
With
So
any of that
we
stuff.
went from fake crowd noise with cutout heads in the stands last year to full gangbuster old school football crowds in 1 year. And they're screaming about the Delta variant on NBC, CBS, CNN, and name it.
Yeah.
Even Fox. And then all of these people are like, they're all like cheering and screaming, and they're packed on top of each other like sardines. And it's not a problem.
That's what I was getting at. Just like I didn't watch the game last night. I caught the highlights.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was the same deal. But a lot of places are, you got to show your vaccination card. Like,
I mean, I wouldn't mind showing my vaccination card to get into the game if I had to. But I'd be like, this is stupid, but whatever. But like, if you're not wearing the mask, you're still spreading it. Even if you're wearing the mask, you're spreading it. I think. But without the mask, you definitely are. And when you're in those stadiums,
you're spitting, screaming, yelling.
No, walk the halls in between, like that crowded hall where you're getting your hot dog and your cheer wine and all the other things that you do. Go to the bathroom and wait in that line to take a piss. And you telling me that COVID's not in the air in that bathroom? Like, come on. Like, my wife and I we snuck into this the Saints Stadium in New Orleans. We snuck in. And we got in there, and it was packed house, not a seat to sit in. I mean, we literally couldn't sit anywhere. Like, we snuck in, but there were no seats.
Yeah.
And you could, you knew you were breathing in other people's spit. You knew you could smell other people's BO. Like, it was tight the whole way around that stadium. It's like going to the club.
Yeah, I noticed that, and it was just like, and then you're gonna, like, are we moving backwards and then trying to go forward, then move backwards?
Like Paul Abdul. I don't know, man. But like, what is the reality of our situation? Are we living in a post-COVID era, and COVID's no longer truly a threat? Or was it even a threat? Or are we living in some type of dystopian future where we're all just naive and this thing's going to eat us alive? And, it looks like the numbers are leading more towards the former, where COVID was never truly a threat. But at the same time, people are dying.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in this country are obese, and a lot of obese people love football. And so they're going to these games. I mean, what happens? And how many of those people at the Georgia Clemson game are truly vaccinated? Come on. You know that the Deep South is like holding on to the unvaccinated idea. Like, they're just not getting vaccinated. Like,
and they started partying in Charlotte, Friday night for that game?
Mm-hmm. like it make me nervous. I mean, as a father, and I was always a germaphobe before COVID. Like when I would go to the bathroom in a public place, shirt to the doorknob.
Yeah.
I would use my foot or my elbow to flush.
Yep.
Like I'm just not gonna get the germs if I can help it. And I was that way in college, okay. And so for me, it's like now, like it makes me a little uneasy. I don't know what's real though. So
I mean, with the agenda they're pushing, you don't know what's real. You don't know how real it is. And then at the same time, you still got to live life. I've kept my circle small. I'm like, just small and try to stay away from crowds and stuff. I guess, yeah, next month, I'm putting myself out there in the middle of. It's gonna be crazy. I don't know how
what are you doing?
how to deal with it. Me and my dad were going to the North Carolina Florida State game. So
Yeah, it's outdoors though. Is it at North Carolina?
yeah, it's just that past 2 years, that'd be the first thing that I've done. That's
Well, you're an isolationist in general. Like you don't
It's-
go out a ton. You're just kind of a normal.
I keep my circle small, but
Yeah.
I don't keep myself from doing stuff. But
Yeah.
that will be the first environment that I'll be.
Are you more worried about your dad?
I think he's vaccinated.
And you're not right now.
No.
You just kind of sitting, not worried about it. Yeah, okay. Well, I mean that's next year.
No, this year.
It's in a month.
Yeah, October.
Okay. Well, I mean you'll know more.
If the games are still around.
You'll know more by then. If it really gets, whatever. If it really gets weird, you're gonna know.
I mean, because on the high school level, it's weird. I think,
And they are wearing masks at those games, aren't they?
no,
No, the Ford game there wasn't masks.
you can wear them if you want to.
Yeah, but people were just kind of.
But there's no crowd at Maiden like it used to be.
I mean, oh God, 2006. I did the Newton Conover Maiden third round. Third round. They met in the third round. Blue Devils, Red Devils.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's football. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen a game like that again. I mean, North Lincoln. I saw North Lincoln play a few that were pretty good, but like Newton Conover Maiden, like third round playoffs, and it came down to the wire, OT. I mean, there were people on the sidelines, in the stands, like around the track,
Yeah.
falling over the fence.
So I grew up on Maiden football. My dad went to Maiden from Robbie Holloway all the way up through. I grew up on Maiden football.
And it's just not that way anymore, huh?
No, like from the game I went to 2 weeks ago, if you had everybody on Maiden's sideline shift either right, like everybody sit side by side, right or left side of the stadium, it'd be a quarter full.
Wow. Well, it's also the first game of the season. I mean, you can't compare Maiden versus Freddie Ford first opening day to Newton Conover Maiden third round playoffs. Like that's going to be a bigger game, right? And so let's watch and see what happens. I mean, I'd like to go to a few of those. I mean, to me, the third round is really the big games of the year. That's when you see things really happen. And so I'd like to see, I'd like to go see some Shelby football, third or fourth round, right before the championship game, and just see how crowded that stadium is. Because, I mean, that's
And then a lot of times,
that's the standard.
oh yeah, if you're willing to pay, you can watch them streamed online.
Well, that's part of my business model. We were getting into that. Like, I was trying to sell that on AC Reynolds back in 2011. It didn't happen. But, man, so home teams, or should I say traveling teams, so, let's say North Lincoln's traveling to Fred D. Ford to play football. I could literally stream, let's say somewhere farther away, like Robbinsville or something. I could go to Robbinsville and stream that game to a private link that would be pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And then they're making money off away games Like, and there's probably an NCHSAA rule that doesn't allow that, but you could certainly stream it for free, you know, and make money off advertisers or whatever you had to do. But I mean, that's the move now, and everything's going online. And so, I don't know, but like we're fully capable. You know, I have to tear this whole thing out, but
Yeah. But they're doing it. And last weekend, I think like 4 or 5 of the local schools canceled games because of COVID.
Mhm.
I think South Caldwell played, Hickory might have played. And then this week, Maiden High School, they had to find a new team to play because the team they were playing scratched because of COVID.
What was crazy was I went to North Lincoln's schedule, and they had people on there I've never seen before. They were playing like North Cabarrus and like other teams.
They restructured the division.
I know they did, and it like, they're playing Freddie Ford like in conference. It looks like, or maybe not in conference, but like 7th game of the season, which is a conference time to play.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, look at this, you know, compared to what it was.
Bunker Hill is at a conference to the local schools around here.
I don't know how that works.
I don't either. They need to bring the old SD7 back.
Mm-hmm. Well, they changed it when my dad went to Ford, and Freddie Ford in 2002. Those guys had to play Shelby, Crest, Kings Mountain. I mean,
Were they 2A then? Were y'all 2A then?
they pushed them up to 3A, I think. And at that point, like, they did not win. I mean, you can't win. I mean, because Ford is just kind of not.
That's another thing that's hurting the schools with sports. Because if you get, like, high school level, 3 players on a team can dominate. So imagine 3 players, 3 good players. Okay, imagine.
If one of those players is a pulling guard.
No, just imagine Ben Eggers,
Yeah.
BJ Walton, Randall.
Hold on. This reminds me of, what was that NBA game where like we had 3 NBA players that we got to pick, NBA Fire or NBA.
Double dribble.
It was a game back in the day where you had like it was 2-on-2 actually.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
That's like this. I like this though. So Randall, Ben Eggers, and BJ.
And then maybe either Lewis or David Rodas.
I think having a really solid tight end would help you.
I'm just saying, just either one of those. Moving them off of that team, and 2 going to Maiden, 2 going to Hickory High. What does that leave Ford with?
Me.
I'm just saying, as a neutralist, what does that?
They'd be pulling me up off the sophomore. They'd be pulling up their sophomore quarterback, run quarterback. I mean, it doesn't leave them with anything. I mean, it does leave them with Corey Yoder and with
Yeah, you still have a solid line.
Stephen Westmoreland and Josh Widener.
You still have a solid line. I didn't touch anybody on defense, but
Yeah.
guess what? By the second quarter, defense is going to be dog tired.
Uh-huh.
So just imagine 3 or 4 players from good to great just deciding to go team up with somebody else to win 2 or 3 extra games.
Yeah, and get up there ranked so they can get on a Division II football team later.
So that's where the lackluster and the, you got the 6'5", 280-pound kid sitting in the stands. Why ain't you out there? Why? We're going to lose anyway.
Not with him, but yeah, I know.
If you had the names on the squad with those stragglers that are in the stands in the school, big body students, that you showed them how to play, they would be helpful.
Kevin Danner, was that his name? He didn't play ball. We had a few big kids who didn't play ball who would have been good. Roger Travis. Roger Travis would have been a real bulldog.
Just stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, he would have played outside linebacker easy, or probably like a outside tackle. I mean,
see, that's the thing from the 90s to where, okay, like when Mopile was at Ford.
Yeah.
Okay. That era, you had Mopile, I forget the other guy's name at Ford, but Hickory High, you had 2 or 3 people there. It was always 3 or 4 players on each team. Now those 3 or 4 players want to be on the same team,
Yeah.
playing the same positions.
Well, that's AAU football. That's what that would be.
That's what it's gravitating towards.
And I'm okay with that as long as, it gets structured in a way that allows it to be competitive and intelligent.
But
And
you see where it leaves high school sports.
it's completely removes them from having it. So they turn into charter schools, basically, is what they do. Like, and, if you, like, this is the thing up here, charter schools are really popular, okay? Well, I decided to let my daughter go to charter school. She's not going to be playing real ball. She's not going to, she's going to be taking a different route. It's not going to be, if she wants to play softball, I mean, maybe, but it's going to be a smaller team, less competitive, less kids. They're going to be playing other charter schools, so the competition's not going to be there the way it would be, because like our softball team at Freddie Ford was like a state championship team.
All women's sports at Freddie Ford was
Top tier, and then we were all left with scraps. But whatever. But like that was, if that's not there anymore, what's left? So
it's just one of those. You get those parents out of it, and the willingness to drop their kids in different programs the first time a coach pisses them off.
Mm-hmm. Well, but see, kids are supposed to be disciplined by their coaches. And
A lot of parents don't like that.
I mean, it depends on the way they do it. It really does. And I learned. I watched my dad make a few discipline decisions that might have been questionable, but were right. But back in the day, it was a different time. And so. And I came through, I played Pee Wee football, and my coaches were cussing us. I just remember being cussed in like 5th grade. It was different. It wasn't hard, but it was enough, especially once you got to.
I don't know where cussing's starting to become a bad thing again in our age or in time.
It was part of our youth, was like getting a good cussing from coach after a loss, or
like cussing in general. That's. How else are you going to get your ass chewed?
Yeah. I mean, I guess you can do it in a politically correct way, but it sure doesn't have its edge, does it?
Okay, getting cussed out.
I mean, like Nick
once
Basil,
or twice.
Nick Basil chooses to not cuss when he does his discipline, and it's really effective, and the kids respect him. So there is a way, But I have seen both. And my dad rode the fence. He would be aggressive sometimes, but he wouldn't cuss as much, But, I don't know. He would cuss about as much as Nick, And I only hear Nick cuss because I've got him mic'd, and I've got him in the bud like ESPN style, and he'd say funny things. He'd be like, damn, we're going to get a cramp kicking ourselves in the ass, like stuff like that, and that's so funny. Like, that's the funniest thing is when you hear your coaches say funny things like that. But
so, how bad is that? Maybe what? Actually getting, pinpointed in practice once or twice your whole football season?
Mm-hmm.
But, getting that done, let's say you play football 18 years. So you got about 36 ass chewings. So when you get out in the real world, somebody chews your ass.
Mm-hmm. Well,
it's oh my gosh, I can't believe they said that.
By the time like Jeremy Dula got to the military, he had seen it 100 times from Alan Gorey. You know what I mean? Like, Alan Gorey would chew you.
Yeah. Who hasn't heard GD from him?
Yeah, and so like these guys going military, like it was just, they were good. They weren't sensitive at all. They had thick skin already because they played ball. And so like, what replaces that if football is going by the wayside? What replaces that resilience and character? Jiu-jitsu? Jiu-jitsu? She's a brown belt. She'll kick you. She'll kick your butt. Right. But I brag about it all the time. I just think it's the coolest thing ever, by the way. But like, is it going to be more hand-to-hand combat style stuff? Is this where we get our aggressions out? Is this where we learn to become men and women in America? Is it the jiu-jitsu gym? Is it wrestling? Baseball's dying fast. I mean, it's just not what it used to be, right?
I've never really followed baseball like that.
Right. Well, who is anymore? It's like watching grass grow if you're not into it, or it's like watching golf. If that's the best analogy, baseball and golf go hand in hand. I mean, really. And so, there are niches for people who play those sports, and that pathway may be easier now than it used to be. Because back in the 80s and 90s, baseball was a big deal.
Yeah.
Now it's still really serious, but less people do it. So much like football will become. And so I'm just trying to figure out where we feel this void in our children, our men, specifically our men in this case. Like at the end of the day, how do they get that discipline that they need? Because I feel like there's too many people out there running around who are adults now who haven't been disciplined.
Oh yeah. Like the workforce is dealing with this in a way too. I mean, the past 2 months or so, I've been training, entry-level jobs, and
they aren't cut out for it, are they?
It's not they're not cut out for it. Work is work. Work is hard. It's manual labor and stuff, but they're so sensitive. Like,
you start crying on you?
No, they don't cry on you. It's the way that they're nurtured from orientation on through.
Yeah.
Like, you just gotta walk on eggshells when you're trying to train them. Like, raise your voice, or you have this look on your face, off-putting, throws them off. Or they're going to HR with
saying something.
Yeah, it's a hard road to travel right now, because you're not saying anything out of line. It's just, I don't like the way he talked to me. Like,
Now, are you dealing with more women than men, or men and women? Is it 50-50?
dude, the women that's coming in, they're actually killing it.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna say what I want to say.
All right.
The women, they have more gumption and more I can do this than the men that's coming in. Time and time again, a woman walks through, they'll at least stay until, it gets to the point where possibly they've hurt themselves.
Okay.
Or they found something a little bit better. Men, on the other hand, for some reason, I just don't understand.
The younger guys, so they're like out of high school, or like out of their 2-year bachelor or associates or something.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you don't need a college education.
I know, but like some of them may have some
maybe
community college
some of
experience.
them going to school and stuff. But yeah, for the most part,
They're like 24.
I say 20, early 30s.
Yeah.
They don't have that.
Is it a resilience they're missing? They don't want to stick it out.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And where do we learn how to stick things out?
By getting bitched at, getting fussed at,
Yeah.
getting your ass chewed.
Yeah. And then coming back the next day and doing it better, and overcoming whatever obstacles you had in your way. So.
And that's the thing that it was. I don't know about them hiring women.
You said that?
Yeah, I've said that a while back, a long time ago. But actually seeing them, because I'm not for sure if they can say this is a man's job.
I mean, you see who I got in here.
Yeah.
So and there are guys in here who can do that job really well. Charmaine's solid, man. She's solid. Look, she's just like, I want her to talk, but she's just keeping her head down and doing it, and like it's the way it is. And she's going to put out a really performative cut, and I know it's going to be clean, and I don't have to worry about it. And she doesn't complain, and she doesn't like make a bunch of excuses.
That's how the women are in the
Yeah.
work. In my workforce, where I work at right now, the men, it's the slightest little thing they try to use just to navigate out.
Mm-hmm. The young guys in my field are difficult to work with because they're all way too cocky for what they are because they've seen success on Instagram. Right? Like they know how to use their phone to make a really cool video, and those videos are cool. They're good. They're really good, and that makes them good. But the technology, it's like the joke they had about Sully who crashed the plane into the Hudson.
Yeah.
Like the planes fly themselves. Oh, that's not true. But in the case of the phones and the cameras make cool videos all on their own. All you gotta do is, hit the play button or hit the record button, and these transitions are all set up for you on Instagram. The filters, come on, you can make a lot of things look good without trying hard. But back in the day, I had to use a 35mm camera, and I had to shoot that on film, go to a black room, develop it, then put it onto a print, then put my filters on to make sure the print looked right, then use my wash to make sure I stopped all the stop bath and did all the things. And then we got into the Photoshop era. We were Photoshopping all of our digital images and spending hours in Photoshop to get them to look good. And now, I mean, my Galaxy Samsung S10 middle of the road smartphone takes a better picture than any camera in this room. It takes a better picture than the $2,800 camera. It takes a better picture than the Sony A7, than that guy, than this guy. It takes a better picture, and I don't have to do anything to it. I don't have to color grade, nothing. It's done, outside of a few subtle switches in Instagram. And so it's like, yeah, okay, you're good, because that made you good.
Yeah.
But you have no technical experience at all. And then, you say that the wrong way, and yeah, they get really sensitive and butthurt, and they do disappear. They just ghost you because they're onto a new experience. And I don't know, maybe they make their way. But I've probably seen 24 people in and out of here since 2013.
See, that's how the workforce is right now. It's just like,
So, Freddie, will you sign my game ball? Anywhere is fine, and you might have to bear down with that pen. So, any of my former teammates or guys that I knew played ball, I'm having them sign my game ball, and this was the ball that we had at my dad's funeral, and so like some of his players signed it, but I'm repurposing it because we have another ball that a lot of the guys signed at the funeral that's full.
yeah.
And so I'm repurposing this one because it's still got some canvas on it as like people who come in here. So now this is the ball for me. Like when I go, this one can be up on the tee, the kicking tee, sitting somewhere in memory.
I got you.
In memory of the Ridge Journal podcast. One day we'll see. One day it's gonna. I wonder who our final guest will be, Charmaine.
Who knows? Let's just try and
Keep at it. Yeah. So, what keeps you up at night?
Oh, nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing.
I asked you before, I think, and you said that. That's fine. Nothing keeps you up. So you hit the pillow and you're out.
Yeah.
How do you keep that? How do you maintain that?
It's always keeping those stresses off of you.
Have you ever been kept up at night before?
Yeah.
And when you would be kept up at night, what usually would it have been?
It was just like a rough spot in life.
Relationships or
Yeah.
work or something.
Yeah. Just something like that. I mean, every day is not perfect, or every day is not going to be your best day. But my rule, like when I get off work, my number one rule is to never take work home with me. And if I feel stressed out or something or another, I won't go in my house until I feel relaxed.
I see. So you go for a walk, get that ice cold glass of water, whatever else you gotta do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'll go to Lowe's Hardware and walk around if I feel like something's on my shoulders.
I love doing that. I'll do it too. We got Home Depot closer, but whatever, same thing.
Same in any of
Yeah.
those stores, just the window shop, walk the
I
aisles.
get peace just hitting the grocery store and getting some healthy food. Like that to me, that self care.
Yeah.
Like going in late at night. I like going in the grocery store at like 9.
See, that's what I hate about COVID.
Why? What?
I mean, I despise Walmart like hell, but what's the best time to go to Walmart? Between 12 and 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, of course. That's when you go.
That's what I'm saying.
Are they closed now though?
Yeah, they've restructured their hours.
You think that
I think they close at 11 or 12
Well, that
now.
that just pushes people more into those frames of time. I mean, if they kept themselves open like they were before, you'd spread the herd out a bit, right?
It's just stuff like that.
Yeah, that would bug me too.
You know, off-hour shopping.
Yeah, I love it.
That was the love. And Target, you know, that's my new sweet spot. They close at 10 or 11.
I've just been trolling around Dick's some. Like I like going into Dick's. Everything's so expensive there though. So I'm like, ah, damn. Trying to get a pair of jogging shorts and they're like $55. A pair of Nike jogging shorts. I'm like, come on. I can find them on Amazon for.
I go to
$20.
Academy and get the what is it, BCG for
Yeah.
like $7.
Yeah.
Now the worst thing I did was last week, spend like $80 on some shoes
Mhm.
because I jog a little bit.
Yeah.
Dude, they were trash.
The shoes were.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
I
there's,
should have went with the tried and true, the Brooks or the Asics. I went with some Nikes and
the Nikes weren't good.
Nah.
Ah, man. You know, you always get swooned by them too because they look good. The ham.
Felt good in the store.
No, of course they do, and then you get them out and they just fall off on you. The Under Armours look good in the store too, and then when you get out, they start cutting into the back of your foot.
I've never.
I took them back. I was like, I can't do it. But I've been, I hate to say it, but I've been running in some Vans lately, and that's actually been a bad idea for me in the past. I injured myself in 2013 running in Vans, but now they've got another. It's like called I can't remember what it's called, but it's a really soft shoe, and it's a running shoe. And I don't do a lot of hard running.
Yeah.
When I do, I put on my Ultras, which are a really expensive shoe, by the way, $140 shoe. No, they're like no heel, and they're really efficient for me, especially if I'm trail running. But if I'm just on the pavement, I just keep those Vans on. I'm good, you know. And I'm walk running with my dogs. I'm just doing like 3 miles there and back, so I'm good. But yeah, I mean, I've spent. If I could have all the money back for the shoes I bought, you know, I'd have thousands of dollars.
Man.
It's
And then
insane.
I run through them too.
Yeah.
I run through them.
Well, I've gotten to a point now where like I stick with one pair for as long as I can, just for knocking around, and then I have that running pair, and that's all I use, and I have a pair for cycling. Come on, whatever.
I'm still itching my way into cycling. I want to get a mountain bike, but those prices.
Get the road bike. You can get in for $800. I'm telling you, man. The mountain bikes are cool, but you'll rack your nuts. And then there's all sorts of other reasons. I mean, I like them, but the mountain bikes are a way more expensive piece to buy. I mean, you're looking at the cost of like a Corolla. Like it's like $2,900.
No, I'm not looking at that line. I'm looking
They're
at like
really
a
expensive.
giant.
Okay.
They're like $750 hardtail.
Okay,
But-
well, so if you can get one in like that, then you know that's the same price as you'd find for a road bike. But I felt like it was a really jarring experience being on a mountain bike. It's not good for my joints, and so I ride the road bikes, and you know I have to deal with traffic, but you know I feel really smooth and good about it, and I ride a long way, and it hurts my taint, but I get over it.
I got you. But with COVID, you know, that shot up prices on bikes and stuff.
Everybody was getting on a bike.
Yeah. So I'm still on the outside looking in.
Look on Marketplace. Look on Facebook Marketplace.
That's like the new Craigslist.
It is Craigslist. Whatever happened to Craigslist?
Say
Huh?
Look on Pink Bike.
What did you say?
Pink bike.
Pink Bike.
.com?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Remember that one?
Oh
didn't
yeah, I
know.
remember that one. Pink bike. That was
Okay.
definitely. But my,
She's a big biker. She's got like 6 bikes in her house. Yeah, you got a good collection. I admire it.
but there's so many fake ads on there.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can whittle them out. Well, there were fake ads on Craigslist.
That's
too.
what I said. It's like
Yeah.
Craigslist.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely check that out.
So, I asked you before, but we need to do it again. What advice would you give someone like you, like who's just like one of those guys coming in, to work, like who you see a glimmer in them. It seems like they've got some work ethic. What would you say to them if they were like 20 years behind you?
I always tell them, start with the basics. Learn that first, and then once you get a handle of that, try something else. Always, you're more valuable if you know more than one thing.
Yeah.
So it's always, your title right now, learn and master that. As soon as you get a grasp of that, try driving, a lift or some sort, or,
That's what I do. I try to get on that lift.
ask to, learn the computer system. It's
Ah.
always, the more you know, the better off you are. And then from a financial standpoint, when they're coming into these production jobs, I always tell them, because most of them are young,
Yeah.
and they go from making $200 fast food or whatever they are to with no responsibilities, they go from 200 to 700 to 1,000 a week.
That's a lot.
Always,
Especially down in Catawba County, you can do well.
yeah.
Real well.
And if you're living at home with mom and dad, no expenses, so that's a lot of spending money.
Yeah.
So I always told them, wait a year. If you can work this job a year, it's like then you can purchase that truck that you want.
Smart. Don't go jumping into it.
Yeah.
Like you hear about those NBA players just right out of the gate getting a Bentley, And I saw this dating show one time, and this girl was like, "What do you drive?" It's the worst question to ask anybody, And he's an NBA guy, and he's like, "Bentley," and I'm immediately like, "That's a horrible business decision to buy. It's a horrible financial decision to just go buy a Bentley 3 years into the NBA because life expectancy of an NBA player,
Oh, is it?
it's not long."
NFL is 3.5. What is the NBA? Like 5?
If I were that good, and I got a chance to be in the NBA, I'd probably buy that same Cadillac for $15,000. And I look good. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'd buy it used, and I would sit tight, and I'd wait, and I'd buy my mama a house. And I'd live there too.
Easy peasy stuff like that. But, for a lot of us that come from the average Joe
Mm-hmm.
to having, zeros in your bank account,
Lots of them. I can see
It's-
how you get there.
it's hard to to not want to, we only got one life to live. Let me enjoy this right here. I don't know, but
No, you're good.
could lease it.
The Bentley.
Yeah.
I mean, if your mindset was to get a bunch of exotics and rent them, and then make a business out of it, that makes sense. Like if you've got the clout from your work with the Boston Celtics,
Yeah.
and you're like, all right, I'm gonna get a Bugatti, a Bentley, and a Lamborghini, right? And I'm gonna have these, and they're gonna be for rent. And it's $1,000 a weekend, and I'm gonna this is gonna be my side hustle while I play ball. And I'm gonna hire a manager. That's entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
That makes sense, and that's what I would like to see out of somebody who's like taking advantage of their success with their athleticism. If you're just buying it to impress a girl on a TV show, I mean, it's just not right.
See, we tell athletes something like that, but we don't tell, well, he's a billionaire now. We don't tell somebody like Jerry Seinfeld, hey, you only need one Porsche.
Well, he's like Jay Leno, you know. I mean, and so, but Jerry Seinfeld he's in a whole nother level.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's a
Yeah.
billionaire now. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
but at the time, nobody told him, hey, you only needed one Porsche.
Yeah. Well, and the right guys who invest in those cars, like they're increasing their wealth every time they purchase something like that. You know, like my uncle's
Yeah.
It's a 930. It's technically a 911, but it's a 930, so they say, and it's really rare. It's got the fat back with the tires, like the curved out
Yeah.
back with the wing, and it's midnight blue. And it's got the yellow brakes, and I mean, he's just sitting on that thing. It's not going anywhere. And you can tell it's had some age on it, but I mean, it still runs. Sounds beautiful. So, I mean, he's got a good mechanic, and that's really the key, I think, and that's why I'm in love with Orlando and Amaro Avalos. The key to having a really good ride in general and keeping up with something that you feel confident in and comfortable in is having a really good mechanic by your side. Finding that person. It's like finding a soulmate.
Oh, yeah.
You got one? You got a mechanic? Got somebody? Or do you do it yourself?
Well, my car, it's old enough where the warranty's off of it, so
Same.
if I can't fix something, I'll take it to a local shop, but 9 times out of 10, I'm a wrench on it first.
Mm-hmm. Well, I used to. When I had my Saab,
Yeah.
the thing was like a toy. It was like you could pop the top off it and you can change the pistons and everything was right there at your fingertips. But then I got the Cadillac.
Yeah.
Forget it. Like, I'm not even going to dive into that at all. Because getting in
Oh, yeah.
is like, forget it.
So that's my thing. Try to keep my costs down.
What are your hopes and dreams for your future and even for your family?
Hopes and dreams. For the family wise, for the most part, maybe, not be so distant.
Get closer.
Yeah, a little bit closer. And then for me, probably just latching onto a goal and just accomplishing it.
What are, maybe not your hopes and dreams, but what are your expectations for mankind? What do you hope to see mankind achieve, whether in your lifetime or after we're gone? Where do you want to see us go?
Just on one united front.
It seems hard these days to see that. We seem more divided than we ever have been, even in our own country. Like, what do you think about borders? Are borders necessary? Like, a united front technically would mean a world with no borders.
I mean, I personally don't see the big deal with you talking about the wall.
I'm not talking about the wall, but it's
Oh,
part of the conversation.
Well, borders. I mean, if everybody was to be right and stuff, there wouldn't be no need for, borders, laws, or anything.
Well, it's just so weird for me, and we're going on a tangent, but I like that. It just seems so weird for me that, like, there's depravity. How do you say that word? Deprived. People are deprived just south of America. People are deprived in America, too, don't get me wrong. But just south of that border in Mexico, and we can even talk about people who live in the Middle East, or whatever, it doesn't matter. They don't have to be right next to us, but, like, they are not, the people who want a first world life are sometimes excluded from it. Now, there are, people like the Taliban who wish to have a third world life, and they want to live in the third world, and that's what they want, and if that's what they want, fine. Just try not to bomb us if you can help us, right? But in the case of, like, Nicaragua and the people coming up from Honduras and El Salvador and Mexico and other South American countries, You know, they just want what we have. Why can't they have that where they are? And why do they have to come here to do that? And how can we help them have that in their countries? And is it even our responsibility? You know?
I mean, if you don't want them coming here, then the other option is to
Build up their communities, right?
right.
But, like, it's not that I don't want them here.
No, I'm
Yeah,
just saying in
but-
general. Like
Yeah.
you get like a, I guess like a constant echo on social media and all those platforms of, you know, they should stay where they are.
And I feel like, well, this is what's weird for me about where they are. Let's just talk about Mexico for a second. I don't know if you've been. Have you been to Mexico?
No.
All right. It's kind of a weird spot. Now, I've been to Cozumel. It's its own island, literally an island. I've been to Cabo San Lucas. And when you fly into Cabo, you fly in and the airport is just a mad grab of people trying to, you know, sell you something. It's like, oh, white man, white man, white man. You know, buy this, buy that. You know, American, American. And then you get into the car, the taxi that takes you to the resort. Well, in between the airport and the resort, it looks like little Kuwait. There's literally a guy with a stick and two cut-out jugs of water walking in these shoes, like looks like old Nike shoes that are now flip-flops. And he's got on torn clothes, and he looks like one of those Indian guys who builds the cool things on YouTube.
Yeah.
He looks like a peasant, and he's like walking with water that is clean, I guess, to wherever he's going. And I imagine he's already walked 5 miles. And then there's all sorts of like pollution and trash on the ground and weird stuff like that. And then you get to the resort and you're there, and all of these brown people are serving you, and it's like, it's weird, you know, because we're in America and we're coming to grips with that whole concept of class here, you know, and you know we don't want that necessarily. We want everyone to be on equal footing here. At least we think we do. I guess the liberal media wants that. I want that as a liberal minded person. I want that. And so like you get to the resort and everything's taken care of, but you're on this like isolated, and there's like a wall around the resort so none of the peasants can get in. And it's like, it's really weird, and you can't drink the water. And like, it's just, it's awkward.
There's not many places you can go in the world that you can drink the water.
I know, but like when you get into certain places in Mexico, like they have these little oases of first world, and they're blocked off from the rest of the community.
Yeah.
Why can't that be the entire country? Why can't there be infrastructure in place so that everyone can live in a first world environment, in a safe, clean environment?
Well, the American dollar has probably built that up to a certain degree.
Well, I mean, I walk in with $100, I might as well have 1,000. You know?
Yeah. That's the reason why you get the interactions when you're at the airport. All the
$1
way-
is
all the-
$100 of them.
All the way to the resort. But the thing is, you got the same people that say go back to your country, yada yada yada, are the first ones that go on vacation in places like that.
Which is a giant hypocrisy. And my wife, she's kind of a bleeding heart. You wouldn't know it because she comes across pretty hardcore. But we get down there and she's like, I don't like it here. And I'm like, why not? She's like, it's just, there's something wrong about this place, you know? And she's like, I'll never come back. And I'm like, okay. She's like, I don't like this at all. And it's that breach between the vacationers and the commoners. And that, to me, like, you go to vacation in Miami and that's not happening there. Not necessarily. I mean, like, there's a lot of different types of people there. It's a
Yeah.
melting pot. And most people are living middle class, but there's a lot of like resorts all around that. And it's like a normal American place to go vacation. You know, you go to Disneyland, it's not like that. You know? Disneyland isn't in the middle of a giant third world country, right? It's in Florida.
Yeah.
You go to California, the same thing. I mean, now it might be fires and brimstone, but back when Disney World or whatever was out there was in like Pasadena or something like that, surrounded by, tons of first world amenities. So why is it that, you go to those places and that's how it is? I don't know. It just seems awkward for me. I'm not a fan of that.
So are those places American places, like American-owned places?
Well, we were at Dreams Resort, and it had English text across the building, and so I imagine that's owned by some conglomerate with English, but with American backing or some type of banks from whatever, and so it sounds American to me. I mean, it's not like you're going to the Oaxaca, Resorta Day.
Yeah.
And so,
One, you'd probably have to get rid of the corruption.
well, and that's a big problem. I mean, and I feel like that's the drug war issue, which is another tangent that we could fly down for an hour. But it's like, we're sitting here in 2021, pot's still illegal, and it's technically the driving force behind the entire drug trade, illegal drug trade. It's like the front of the entire drug trade. I mean, behind that is coke and heroin and all that, but like marijuana seems to be holding all of it up still. And it's like if we could break free of that cyclical process of, the cartels bringing the drugs into our country and then we consuming them, which is a total hypocrisy, by the way. And then our money goes back, and then they have more money to rape and pillage their people and then do it again. It's been happening for centuries, it seems. And so, Joe Biden goes in there, or Kamala, and she says she wants to legalize weed. I mean, she could be the saving grace for that whole thing if that happened one day.
It's gonna be legalized once they figure out the way to tax it, and then get their buddies knee deep in it before anybody else can build their little mom and pop shop.
Well, I mean, we can talk all day about the corporate grab of the cannabis industry, but at least in that case it's legal, and at least those criminals are technically legal criminals. And they're criminals still, I think, in the way that they would be handling the business of cannabis. But it would be criminal the way they were doing it, and probably a sacrilege to the medicine. But at least they're not beheading people, right?
True. But in the same sense, they'll have to go through and set free all the people in prison for any marijuana type charge. And then they'll have to replace them with somebody else to keep that machine running. So you got two machines that are hand in hand.
Well, I mean, this could go just as poorly as the Afghanistan pullout, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it could literally be just as bad if Joe Biden's like, okay, legalize all drugs, and then he runs back to his corner, and he hides for 2 weeks, and all of a sudden, mayhem breaks out. Release all the prisoners for drug charges. All the nonviolent people are done. Get them out. And then he just goes back to his basement. I mean, there has to be some kind of structure in place for this to work. And I mean, I'm asking these hard questions that literally none of us can answer, and I don't know who to even call in to ask.
I'm saying the corruption's got to be going first. And then with that, since the American defense system or political system always want to put their nose in everything, how come they've never went to South America, those countries, and try to help fix the situation?
Well, there have been situations. What are you talking about? Americans going and trying to fix the situation?
Yeah, like the military.
Well, I mean, we're pulling all of our people out of Afghanistan. We got to do something with them. I mean, and with Texas becoming so powerful, with all the people moving to Texas and the influence that Texas is now having, I mean, Texas is becoming a real powerhouse state, and there's controversial things happening there, but it makes sense for us to try to fix the border down there. it makes sense for us to try to figure out how to help the people across that border. It makes sense because of all the crimes happening,
Exactly.
and then all of the all the talk about the kidnappings.
The public executions for, you know, not being able to deliver the drugs
They're-
or resisting.
Well, they're literally our neighbors. It's like North Carolinians saying we want nothing to do with South Carolinians. That's literally what it's like.
My thing is, okay, we can go to fight the Taliban
A world away.
a world away, but you can't dismantle a drug cartel,
Yeah.
or you choose not to.
There's probably 3,000 of them. I'm betting there's 3,000 cartel members down there. Maybe.
Well, there's 3 to 10.
Yeah.
The U.S. Army is what, infinite?
I mean, do exactly what Leon said, and just instead of Afghanistan, do a clean sweep down from Texas all the way down to the end of the boot of Mexico, and just clean house.
You gotta go all the way down.
I made a joke about Afghanistan, and it's probably inconsiderate now, but I was like, we just need to send all of our Mormons over there and just, turn it all into a really big grid neighborhood like you see in Salt Lake City, because they're so nice. They're all like the nicest people. How could they hate them? And then just put Home Depots and Tractor Supplies all throughout the country. Well, it's not going to work, right? That's a joke. But like, they did do that technically in Mexico. Mormons did move to Mexico. Mitt Romney owns land there.
Yeah. I watched that documentary.
And that didn't work out well either. Right. But like, they tried to whitewash parts of northern Mexico and make it theirs because they were being discriminated against because of polygamy for whatever reason. And they allowed them to live there, but things happened and it wasn't good. So I don't know what the answer is, but I mean, it seems like we need to find new and unique ways to fix the problems that we're facing today.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think the boomers have the answers.
If everything didn't go back to money, the answers would probably get answered.
You think the answers are in general just love and I guess tolerance or acceptance?
Not always love. It's just with every scenario, why does it have to create a profit?
Yeah, I know. Every time. I was like, well, there's not a profit model there. Like in here, people immediately were asking me, like, what's your profit model? I'm like, man, we're just getting started. I don't know. My profit model is to talk to people, and I'm going to get whatever I need from that at first. And as we grow and the right people come to me for sponsorships, then we'll talk. But I'm not going to sponsor a dildo company, right? I'm not going to just bring a, shake weight in here. Like it's going to be something that with purpose and intention. And I hope that I don't sell out that way. But I mean, if Shake Weight offered me $50,000 an episode, I'd probably be all about some Shake Weight. I'd be like, Shake Weight, yeah.
I mean,
but
it's not bad money.
no, what 58 episode? Come on.
I'm just
I mean,
that's where the politicians, that's where your Candace Owens and your other extremists get their perspectives from, because you got people throwing crazy money at them like that.
well, what bugs me is like she pops up and she decides she wants a podcast and she's immediately funded so much that she can have a crowd and she can have a Bill Maher show. She's basically doing what HBO does, but she's Candace Owens. And, I mean, she's not experienced, she's not as experienced at this as Bill Maher or Rogan or anyone, and she's just in there doing it, and she's filling it out as she goes. More power to her, but, I'm like, man, she literally, she started this podcast, and she hired, 500 people to run her whole show around her. It's like, that's not possible for me.
that's not her money. That
It's
should
not-
tell you something.
Well, I know, but it's ridiculous but she's being propped up, and I wonder if she realizes that she's being propped up by some people who probably don't have her best interest in mind. And she's being used as a figurine for conservative people
viewpoints.
but maybe not in the way she wants it to be. And she makes some sense when she says certain things that are controversial about her black brethren, right? She says things that like white people point out things about other white people all the time, and we're like, yeah, you're right. We should probably not be that way, And black people do it to each other, and I imagine it happens in all cultures. But
I don't know the correct term, but for the most part, she's just the blackface for some of the stuff that
white people can't say.
That point of view wants to say, but can't say.
Yeah.
And she's willing to say it.
Yeah, and I mean, I really think she means a lot of the things that she says, and she means them in a good way. But like, I feel after recently, like, I mean, the video that I watched, she was making a good point about the trans community, and that's all fine, but it's the method that was wrong, right? Like, why are we talking about our tweets on a live show? Like, why are our tweets that important? That's so stupid, right? It's so stupid. And then the crowdsourcing and having a crowd in there. I mean, they didn't even try to put any black people in the audience. Like, they could have tried.
I think that would be hard pressed.
But why? But this is the question I'm trying to get at about Miss Owens. Is like, why do no black people want to get in her corner?
There's some that want to get in a corner.
Sure, a handful, but not like you'd think that if she was like really like this, that like the whole community would be like, yeah, Kenneth is our girl, because you guys rally around the right people. I mean, you guys really do. When y'all find your person, that person becomes a sounding board for.
We're what, 13% of the population? So
I think maybe a bit more now. But she did make a good point. And she was talking about how Latin Americans are now the new subclass, and black Americans are no longer a subclass, and black Americans are now, maybe she didn't state, but like maybe not standing shoulder to shoulder with the whites as far as like power and influence, but certainly no longer the poor subclass, which now is Latin Americans. And, I've actually had Latin Americans on in here to talk about that. And the truth of the matter is, I don't think Latin Americans are a subclass at all, because Orlando and Amero are doing really well for themselves. And they are just one or two of millions of people. But I just think Latin Americans just don't speak a lot, and they keep their head down, and they do their job, and they work hard, and they make their money, and they're quiet about it. And that's, in my opinion, part of the American dream, is being able to do that.
Well,
with autonomy.
Well, that's another thing. When you have the ability to straddle the fence, that's like a slap in the face. When you're at a position where you can pull somebody up and you choose not to, that's where the disconnect comes in.
I think so, yeah.
So whether you do good, it's not going to hurt you or hinder you if you speak up about an injustice. If it's right, it's right.
Yeah.
But with that segment, you got some that position themselves as white, and then you got some that position themselves as Latin. So.
And you talking about the Latin Americans?
Yeah. So.
And that's a spectrum. For
yeah.
Sure.
There's still two, but our segment is still smaller and still has the focus on everything, from crime, from hell, even the lack of COVID vaccines.
Well, and that's what's interesting is like why are black Americans choosing to not be vaccinated at a high rate?
It's not that we're choosing. Hell, I think
it's free. You can just go to Walgreens and get one, Freddie.
See, but that's the thing. Why make one little sector of healthcare free, and then you're mandating it, and then you're forcing almost 80 million Americans to make a decision that they necessarily
Well,
shouldn't have to make.
I think this is me looking in from the outside because I'm not black and I can't know what it's like to be black, but I think that black Americans have a serious distrust for government. And you should, right? I mean, you should. I mean, look at what's happened to over the last 2 centuries in this country. And so for me, it's like a lot of people are on the fence about it, and a lot of white people have a mistrust for government, big government especially, which is what we're facing right now. And
Yeah.
we're just like, fuck you, man! I'm not going and getting that shot because you're telling me to. Especially now that you told me I have to. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go buy an AR-15. Like that's
Yeah.
like you tell me I have to get a shot. I'm going to go buy a gun. Like that's what a lot of people think.
But, you know, these news flashes and these things about vaccinations and, you know, you throw in the African American standpoint out there. How are you going to put the biggest spreaders of a virus when we're like, let's say 15%?
There's no way you're the biggest spreader of the virus.
15%. But
It probably is like 13.9%
I'm
of
just
the
saying-
population. You can't be the biggest spreaders.
the way they narrated on television and stuff, it's like that.
Well, it's really funny though how the Black Lives Matter movement was hijacked by the Democratic Party during the elections, and then now they're just eating you alive in the press, and they're talking about how blacks aren't being vaccinated. They're part of the problem now. You know, Black Lives Matter. No, they don't. You need to get vaccinated, then you'll matter. And that's just such a hypocrisy.
So, one news segment is the African American population. Then the next segment is the unvaccinated. Which one is it?
Yeah. And I think that whole rhetoric is a complete and bogus lie. I mean, it's just really black and white for me. It's like the virus is going around. My doctor told me that this is how all viruses work, by the way, whether you got the flu shot or the vaccine for COVID. You can get the flu even if you have the flu shot, and you can give it to other people. It will transpire through you, but you will not get sick from that flu. You just won't. Same with COVID, same with all the things. And so you're still a conduit for all the things that pass through our culture, the viruses and stuff. But, you know, it will affect you differently than it will affect someone else, especially if you are vaccinated. And so that's just science. Okay, so everything they're saying in the media about how the unvaccinated are killing the vaccinated, it's just not true. It's like the vaccinated are vaccinated, and that virus is going to affect them how it affects them, right? But I tell you, that Georgia-Clemson football game didn't help anybody. It's not helping anybody.
But you ain't heard any news about.
Yeah, well, I have. Fox, Tucker Carlson pops up in my feed sometimes from Fox, and he was like, hey, look at all these people without masks on. It's funny, NBC's not talking about them, are they? And, you know, and he's pointing out what you're pointing out. But, you know, it is ironic that no one's saying anything about, because, you know, football is sacred. You know, you can't, we're so glad. And the universities are finally making their money again. Packed house, Clemson, Georgia, first game of the year. I mean, how much money did that stadium make that day? Probably millions of dollars. Millions. Not a couple $100,000, but millions of dollars were made. Probably off concessions alone, never mind the tickets that were purchased.
Yeah.
Never mind the advertising, you know, the TV deals and all the sponsors. I mean, come on. It's insane.
It's just profit over people.
Yeah. I think that's how we should end this one, yeah?
Sounds good to me.
I mean, we're at 4 hours, yes? Yes, sir.
We're about 6 minutes away from 4 hours.
Charmaine, is there anything you'd like to add?
No.
No?
Thanks for coming in. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm always going to give her a chance to talk. Sometimes she does, sometimes she doesn't. Cool, man. Well, Freddie, thank you, man.
Thank you.
I'm Josh Lloyd, and you're on the Ridge. This has been a good one. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.